everything's organically grown. So it's kind of was me on my own, and then added one person, two people, three people, and kind of grew. And you learn very much on the way of how that works and how we do it. So how it is with Keltbray, we have a centralised team of APs based in Plaistow in East London. They all have done and are continuing to do all the advanced AP training. So we go into this. Kev does that. I've just got an email from Kevin yesterday for the next course that he's running, and you'd be surprised how many people slingers didn't know that, if you like. So what we then sort of created with this test was, say a test, it's more of an assessment, because then you assess the knowledge, and then afterwards the assessor would go through the test with them, and if there's parts they didn't get right, and it's not about a pass or fail, it's about knowing someone's level of competence or knowledge. What we decided to do is they put this heavy steel bar all the way from the basement through to the top floor of the Earls Court building. So at either side of the roof structure there was like a walkway. There's a great video of it on YouTube, a walkway. And what they did is they put these heavy bars through all the floors, and they made these like steel little sort of like hangmen like that, sort of thing like that. And on the end of those they put the strand jacks, and these picked up each individual truss of the roof. And what they did was pinched the roof up, and they just cut the cable ends, and they lowered the whole roof to the ground.
Cool, back Jim, we're ready for you now, mate.
Welcome to the Construction Cogs podcast, showing you the moving cogs of the construction machine.
Hello all. I'm currently working at One Undershaft, a project where Keltbray is demolishing the St Helens Tower, which was once the Aviva building. Whilst there, I've had the pleasure of having a few conversations with Steve Leyton, who's Keltbray's Director of Lifting. Steve is really passionate about lifting, so I thought, why not get him here to chew the fat? So here we are.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Steve.
No, as two guys very passionate about lifting, it's like this could take for all night. We could be here forever.
it could actually. It could. Yeah. It's
yeah.
just the same. I done. Kevin. I done with Kevin Benison a while back, and it was like 2 hours, and I was thinking, no, we're gonna have to stop now. Like it's just.
Yeah. It's very easy, isn't it? It's just, when you get into it, like I say, especially when you mentioned Kevin there. So people that are passionate about what they do, Kevin's very passionate about lifting safety as well. I know Kevin well, and it's you'll get talking to people like that. It's inspiring, and and it's like say kindred spirits as well. I think that's what we find within the lifting industry. It's everyone's very much good at sharing and good at you sort of give props to people rather than put people down. That's quite kind of what I like about it as well. Everyone's here to make sure everyone goes home safe at the end of the day. So that's what we share.
And exactly, and also you're both the type of people like myself who want to try and make a difference to the industry.
Oh, big time.
So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, and obviously we're going to talk about One Undershaft as well. But let's start with you. What does your role as Director of Lifting involve day to day?
So I get involved in as much as I possibly can, but it's as time goes on, you can't be involved in everything. So I very much look at new schemes, running an independent team that do all the planning and management of lifting across the whole group. We also have external clients. We manage some projects for Skanska. We have an external client called Aureus that do infrastructure. So making this now, a lot of it's making new relationships, honing those relationships, ensuring tendering when we're looking at new projects, that we're going in with good schemes that are priced correctly, and we're not chasing our tails afterwards, sort of thing. And I still try and get out and about around the projects to see the guys on the ground, which is what I really enjoy doing. That it's hard to do when you're kind of more office based, and you kind of get very much stuck into the tendering side and the other things. It's harder to get back onto the ground, and just sort of see the boys, and also make them feel like they're appreciated, and and it's kind of giving them that. I love getting going because you kind of give them that confidence to to do the right thing all the time. And we'll probably talk about stuff like that because that's very much what we're about
Absolutely.
at Keltbray. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll make you right. I mean, that's how we met. You was out on site
Mm, yeah.
and meeting the lads, and you was just in the
Yeah.
office and
It was, yeah. I
a friendly face. That's the first time we
yeah,
met, wasn't it? It's like
yeah, it was.
It's good to meet these people. It's good to meet people who are running the show.
Yeah, it was like you were the first week in. I don't think you really even just kind of started off and you were dropping your radio off or picking it up and picking it
Yeah,
up. It was in the morning. It was like,
yeah.
yeah, and that was the first time we met. And yeah,
That's
well,
it.
until
That's
after
it.
that, I knew you did all this sort of stuff. It was,
Yeah.
it kind of, it kind of come about afterwards, which was a nice and welcome surprise.
So
Yeah, good
I mean,
time.
let's go right back. Let's go way back to where it all started and what pulled you into lifting in the first place.
Right. Oh, God, do you know what? So I joined the army very young. I was 16. I lived in the Isle of Man. 16. I joined. Went over to do my. You do an assessment to join the army, and but how naive I was. It was kind of like did a test, and they said, "What do you want to be?" I said, "I just want to be a soldier." I was like, "Oh well, here you go, infantry, front line, front line." And I was, "That's it, yeah." I was 16. Thought I was full of well, it's not going to say full of spunk then, but full of sort of
Yeah.
that kind of I was fit, strong, young man. I was like, right, okay. So anyway, so I joined the infantry. That took me to I went to Bosnia when I was 17, and things happened there. And then I went to Northern Ireland, 5 tours in Northern Ireland, and when I was in Northern Ireland, it was I was in Omagh when the big bomb went off. So there was 39 people killed, and it was a day that really changed. I was working with the intelligence section when I was out there, and from this happening in Omagh, it was like the work then really intensified. Obviously after a bomb had gone off, and then working with the intelligence section, and then also things you saw that day. And I had PTSD. I had a full breakdown. And I had to sort of pick myself up. I was sort of been discharged from the army. I went traveling for a little bit when I sort of could get myself back on track, if you like, or back even going out of the house and things like that. And I went traveling for a while, and I kind of found myself again then. And it was because I'd been sort of medically discharged from the forces. You get resettlement, so you can defer that for 2 years. So it kind of took me 2 years to get myself. And while I was traveling, I met some people that some of them were slingers, and it literally you had a certain amount of money to retrain. And I sort of thought to myself, look, what can you do? Let's be honest, with the UK here, what can you do with it? At the time, it's probably about 3 grand, 2.5 grand. What can you do? And it's 6 weeks is the period of time you sort of get a lot. What can you do in like a 6 week period with sort of 2.5 to 3 grand? That's going to set you up for a career for the rest of your life. Where you can't compete with a tradesman like a chippy or a plumber, because that's years of training, and then but you want kind of a future that would have like tradesman's kind of wage. So yeah, so a lot of my friends worked as slingers, the banksman, and I had this thingy. So when you did your tower crane operator course, as you know, I did it in Ritchie's up in Scotland. When you used to walk the jib just to check the roller at the end, and they won't let you do that anymore, which rightly so, because get the life out of me. But so they did that, and with that you got your slingers ticket as well. So I did second week. I did sorry, that was 2 weeks, and then second 2 weeks I did crawler crane operating. But it was always the tower cranes I sort of gravitated to. And I didn't know that money was good, and there was work. There was work, and when I finished the course, it was very difficult. I'd never been on a building site before. I left school at 16, joined the army, and and didn't have that like on-site working experience. My mum and dad owned a fish and chip shop when I was young, so I always worked in that, but not that on-site sort of firm. And I couldn't get a start on a crane straight away, which I think is probably the right thing, because I literally had 2 weeks, and I was, and then people, you can just go straight up the crane. And I get that. I
Mm.
worked as a slinger for a while, which I was really happy about, because it really got me to learn about how a project works, and things like communication with an operator, and how to lift different things as well. And I think as an operator, you need to know these things as well, because, as part of a team, is, somebody will try and make you lift something that's unsafe, and you can be that support in the sky for the slinger as well. So it's kind of yeah. So that's how I sort of fell into it, and actually I moved around. I know you worked for Select, which was always the mecca to work for when I was an operator, and it was like I worked for Falcon, London Tower Cranes, Wolf Cran, and that's where I sort of finished. I finished with Wolf Cran. I was actually I was driving. I remember why I became an AP was after I remember being on a job in Vauxhall and the operator, and this was like the operating cranes is great, but the operator on the other crane was really a real old arsey bit of twisted guy, and a couple of lads that were on the site were friends of mine. They were slingers, and he said, he flicked over the crash radio, said, Steve, flick over your radio, listen to this. I'm going to really give it to these guys not in those words, as to say. And he just ripped into them. And he's like, and then he said something. He said, I've been sat in this seat for 18 years and I'm not having some little, whatever, like you tell me what to do. And I sat there and I thought, and this is on the truth to me, I sat there and I thought, I don't want to be you. I want to be him. I want to be him. I want to be the guy that's then not just being the boss, but the guy it's a younger guy. It was as well. He was a lift supervisor, and I was like, I don't want to be that. I want to be that. And I climbed out of the crane that day, and I went and booked my AP course. And then that was literally how it went when I just did my AP course, and then sort of went on from there really, and that's how the start of it, and that's how I got into cranes and lifting, and it was chancery, and I think probably a lot of people do get into it by chance, or by a conversation in a pub maybe, or an opportunity. And I know within like Select do a good thing with the apprenticeship scheme, and so Keltbray do something similar like that, but very for demolition operatives, where they learn, they get slingers tickets, they learn to drive machines, and to burn, and apprenticeships are just next level. I think for me, if anything, as a country and as an industry, pushing apprenticeships and a way where you're not leaving, you're getting trained, qualified without going to university and having a massive, huge debt. And and I think there's nothing wrong with people going to university. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. It's just in what I've experienced with being with Keltbray and through my career, I see people who would go on apprenticeships, and by the time they finish them, and you would be finishing a university equal sort of degree or course, they've already got that experience already, and also the wage, the salary, that's more. And
you're absolutely right about apprenticeships. I mean, I did one with Select at the ripe old age of 35, so that was 11 years ago.
Brilliant.
I was a ground worker for donkey's years, and it was killing my body. My body was falling to bits. I was hating, and I was thinking to myself, "There's no way out. Like, what can I do? I can't go and get a qualification now."
Well, you're doing that plumber course, that 2 years, or doing that electrician, and that seems like getting that trade. You want that kind of trade wage, or you want that skilled job. But the access to that is long, isn't it? That's
absolutely, and it's a cost of fortune, and it's forever learning. But that came, and I just grabbed it with both hands. But it's interesting what you said about the old boy, the arsey old boy, because you do get a lot of operators who've got like God syndrome. But you don't have to be like that. Obviously, I'm not like that.
No. And I was never like that. And one thing it can make you a little bit twisted when it's like 6 o'clock and 12 meters of concrete comes through the gate, and no one tells you about it. And it's like, so some parts of it, it's kind of, how it's, I look at it. We've just done a thing with on a Skanska project, and it was really great, where they did a role reversal, where the slingers went up into the cab of the crane and looked at things through the operator's perspective and listening into the instructions that the other slingers are giving them. And then the operator then gives a chance to say, now you can see if I'm hesitant, or if I'm not, or if I'm confident. And then then the operator come down and then didn't stand on the wagon slinging load, but come and stood where the slinger was in the pit lane, and then they could kind of advise them as well, saying, look, paint the picture for him, tell him what you need him to do, and you need to tell him in a way that's confident and a way that he understands, and it is painting that picture because when you have, I know again, when you have that interaction with a really good slinger and a good driver, like say, they're not all God syndrome, but when you have that synergy, that is like poetry in motion. Mate,
absolutely.
it's like almost like a sixth sense, and it is something that's really, really special. That team bond of a really good lifting team. I mean, it's like it's learning on that, because if you go back to the army, it's like having your unit. So it's like that, but the God syndrome. It's not all the operators are like that. It's kind of. But this guy it was probably coming at the right time, Jimmy. Sometimes in your life, someone has to say that simple thing, or sometimes adversity leads you to where you are. And with me having like PTSD and leaving the army, and it sent me on this path, and I now live in London. I've got two beautiful children, a beautiful wife, and I work for a great company, and and I've sat talking this to you on a podcast. It's like
there you go.
It's like from adversity, the good things come, and and I think like I say, I know people say what can kill you make you stronger, but I think well, for me it was definitely, would I have joined the army again if I had that choice? No, I wouldn't, because of all the things that happened. But would I change anything? Not a chance. Not for all the hardships or whatever. To be where you are, at the end of the day, and be happy in yourself and be happy in what you're doing. That's a really nice place to be.
I totally agree. Fair play, Jen. Sometimes you need to hit that rock bottom to be able to grow again. Sometimes you do need that. Yeah. It's interesting what you said about that training thing with the slingers going in the cab. Personally, I think that something like that should be integrated into training anyway when you learn to do either trade. I don't know how you feel about that.
I know 100%. And when it was mentioned, and it was brought up, with the client, and we sort of. Because we have assessors, we'll go into that later on, that go around sites, and I have a guy one of my external manager that visits our external projects, and we do audits, and we do assessments, all this sort of stuff. And part of that is something that we offer as a sort of Keltbray, where we do try and stand out from other people, where we do that extra mile, and we do try and do these initiatives and actually do them and follow them through. And literally, we're talking about this, like literally today, the report come through. So it's like I literally on my email, and I haven't opened the report of it of us sending it to the client on how it went, what was learned, and so it's all catalogued as well. And so we can try and roll that on other projects. Not everyone's up for that though, No, and it's like not everyone's like you, Jimmy, where the operators weren't that up for it, and it was
Really?
it was a bit of a shame, because I think, I'm not having someone up here, or I'm not a slinger, I'm not standing down there. Like, we're not saying you're a slinger, we're saying stand and observe and see things through his perspective, and then also you can help him from his perspective, saying, look, you've been doing it for, especially operators that have been doing it a long time. They've got a lot of knowledge to share and give, and especially around communication and what they would expect. And if you give that to a slinger, he's only going to go to the next operator or next job and do a better job. You know what I mean? It's
that's absolutely, absolutely. I mean, when I'm up cranes, and not all slingers are fantastic. Some of them are green, some of them pick up bad habits. So, I try and sort of train them up to the way that I want things done, and, give them little tips and stuff. So, why not do that from the source, from the beginning? You know what I mean?
100%.
Everyone's
100%. It's been said now, and it's on here. So let's speak, because obviously with you coming from Select, and I suppose you did your apprenticeship with Select, and went through the academy. They've got a fantastic academy. Like, And I work closely with Select, obviously with you having their cranes on our projects, but
Yep.
seniority within Select as well. I think what they've done and what they do within the industry is absolutely fantastic, and to have that facility and everything. So these conversations, I'll feed that back, and that could be part of the academy, part of the apprenticeship, and they might even do that now as part of, because I know there's a new cohort just started this week or last week, and some females on the course as well, which is great. Because you're on a project at the moment at Undershaft, and the lifting manager I was talking about, his wife's actually one of the traffic marshals down there. So it's her name's O, and she's one of the traffic marshals, and she works in a very male sort of environment. She loves it. I think that again. I think women in construction and pushing that, I'm just all so up for it. It'll give us both a bit of balance as well. We definitely need some
Definitely.
the sense of
Well,
a female in there, I think.
I'm glad you work closely with Select and have some put, but just to tell them we just need a little bit more money, a bit more
Do you know?
wages.
Yeah. I keep on telling them, listen, no, but they. I think with it also with how I think look at them very much as how they look after the staff in the company, and how I see where people like customers or clients might try to push teams into whether long hours or push them into doing things they shouldn't. Select are so supportive on the side of their operatives and their people, and also I think they're technically their engineering's excellent, and I think they're a really really good company. I think there's we work with a number of tower crane companies as well, and I think they all are working really hard to do the right thing and provide good conditions for you guys. And that was something that again we were talking about operators, and I remember I went to World Tower Crane Convention. It was in London, and that's the only reason I went there, because I wanted to get a permission to go if it was abroad. And a guy from MPS at the time, he got up and he said about facilities, and you said don't forget about the driver, because there's no welfare for him. His welfare is his cab, and things around that. And it really stuck with me that, and it's like things like that people forget as well, it's kind of like, don't forget about that guy up there. And, I think companies like Select, I think they do try their best to think about that, like trying to integrate lifts and other things and stuff, but it's, you have to get customers to buy into that as well. So
Well, this is it, and they don't
it's
always
hard.
want to. Unfortunately,
No,
it is difficult.
definitely.
I have a lot of views on this actually, particularly. I mean, I've voiced it before, but we won't get into that anyway. What I'd like to talk about is you mentioned earlier how you're trying to do things differently. So let's talk about that. I mean, you've created a centralised system, centralised team for APs. You do assessments for new starters, so your lifting team, all that sort of stuff. Let's talk about that. What you've created.
Oh, it's brilliant. Well, where it comes from, I'll just go back to the start with that as well, because I remember 2016 it was, and I was at the IMECI crane safety event, and as the event was starting, the chair sort of said, "Is there anything anyone really wants to talk about?" And someone down the front, his name's Teddy Holt, actually, he works for ages, but I know Teddy quite well now. He put his hand up, he said, I don't think the red and blue card system, obviously using CPCS, there are other card systems as well, but the red and blue card system, he said, really works or really proves someone's competence. See, it's like, because, and how I look at it or describe it, and you could have someone who, say, delivers bricks for Travis Perkins and has a blue card Slinger ticket. Nothing wrong with that. That's what he does all day. Really, really competent in that. What would you send him down? I use a project like Battersea Power Station. When you go select, I've got 10 tower cranes on there. There's probably 4 crawler cranes. There's chain blocks. There's everything going on everywhere. And he's got a blue card. And that means that he would be better than the guy next to him who has a red card. And I was like, well, not really, because it depends what environment he's used to working in and how, and what he's been exposed to. And as a red card slinger, you could go into like Battersea Power Station and be mentored through that. And within like 2-3 months, you're really competent in that arena, more so and the guy's been delivering bricks for 10 years with a blue card. So I really hit home for me that, and it was really like people really throw stuff at card schemes and training and saying, oh, training's not good enough, this isn't good enough. And I'm like, right, I look at the thing in a different way. It's like, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's the start. Training's just the start for anyone. How do I now then, am I going to prove someone's competency? And I thought to myself, I'm going to go away and I'm going to go to my business. And lucky with Keltbray, I got buy-in from them, and I was given a resource for an assessor to be able to go to every project and repeatedly. And when we developed a skills test for a slinger, lift supervisor, tower crane operator, also excavator operator, excavator when they're being used as lifting. We designed tests around that are just initial assessment tests. And what we do is when we issue those tests on day one, it's now done on Microsoft Forms. It used to be a paper-based system. And the assessor, what they do when they do the test, it's like, see what people score. Things like mode factors, like, what can you use 2-3 ton slings for? Some people are like, oh, 6 ton, and you're like, that is so far from the reality of, if it's choked, it's like 3.36 ton. It's nearly half of what you would think, just having, adding the two up. And you'd be surprised how many people, slingers, didn't know that, if you like. So what we then sort of create with this test was, say a test. It's more of an assessment, because then you assess the knowledge, and then afterwards the assessor would go through the test with them. And if there's parts they didn't get right, and it's not about a pass or fail, it's about knowing someone's level of competence or knowledge. And then the rest of it is now up to us. What do we do with that? And then the second part of that process is then we try and do it within a week. And I never try and write that down because if you don't get there within the first week, it's like you failed. But you put this really amazing thing in place, and then if someone turns up and you haven't made it within the first week because of operational issues, whatever, and then someone say what's happened, it's like, oh, did he have his on-site assessment? It's like, well, no, you said you do it within a week. So we'd always aim within, I'd say, within a 2 week period. They'll always do the test first, and that's always looked at, discussed, and then within the first 2 weeks we'd do an on-site assessment, and that covers. And it's not just an assessment. I look at it as assessment and mentoring, because the assessment is like, what's his communication like? If it's hand signals, if you're using a crawler crane and you're a piler, or you're just doing still on the ground, coming out of the ground with just like doing rebar and things like that for groundworks. Hand signals, but to give the correct hand signals, is he clear? And then we go into with tower cranes, his communication. How does he speak to the operator? How is his instructions? Is he clear? Is it understandable? Is he giving the right instructions? What's his positioning like? Is he stood against a wall while he's lowering a skip down and put himself in a position of danger? Does he control his lifting area so others in the area are aware that it's a lift coming down, or a lift being carried out? And it's not just the white noise of a whistle. They're useful, they're good, but they have to command and own the area. Does he work to the lift plan? Does he sling loads correctly? All this stuff. And as you go in it, if you're observing someone, and you're observing them, they're doing something that's not 100% right. What you're doing is, it's not like you failed. It's like, hold on, mate. But what you need to do here is, you're not encapsulating all the rebar there, so you need to move these things over, or you're about to lift a skip, you're stood against a wall. If that moves over, you're going to get crushed. This is what we do, and this is like, when I say about training just being the starting point, it's like, and then you get this. What you get from that is people then feel really, really valued. So they feel supported. And with Keltbray, we're lucky that we are a recruiter. We place all the slingers, lift supervisors, and they don't really work for the project, say. They do, but they ultimately work for us. And with the assessors visiting, let's be honest, where any business or any area of construction, the old school, just get it up there, just get it done. I don't care, get it done, or you're down the road. What this process started was, it started removing the ability for people to do that, because there was someone on the end of the phone. There was support there, where we do support them to make the right choices every time, which is hard as a slinger, and working in that high risk, high-paced environment. You know, when you're on a formwork job, for instance, it's boom, 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 and everyone is, you know, it's the project needs to push on, and pushing on's great. Yes, I get that, and the job needs to get done. But when you support people and you give them the opportunity to take that 30 seconds longer to do something and do it right, it's that. What kind of happened is you change the culture of the people around the lifting team as well. So they stop asking them to do these things. They then start asking us, you know, oh, can we make sure, oh, we need to add this lift into our schedule. We need to do this. And it's with that communication between the people planning it and issuing it and the people carrying it out and the site teams has just improved so much. And it's like, I look at it and it's like, literally, this is one of the things I'm most proud of in my whole career, because...
Are your lifting operations properly planned, properly assessed and properly checked? I'm talking about risk assessments, lift plans, audits. These things help keep lifting operations safe and under control before problems arise. That's one of the reasons why I provide APs and assessors. They help companies put the right planning and control measures in place before the lifts even begin, and then maintain throughout. So if you need help with risk assessments, audits or lift plans, I can point you in the right direction. Head over to constructioncogs.com/AP-services or get in touch with me directly at info@constructioncogs.com. Stay safe.
There was I think I told you this when we discussed on the phone. Remember, it was just before lockdown, and there was a young I say young guy. His name was Connor. I can't remember his second name. It's Connor something anyway. But it's big, tall ginger haired lad. He joined us at Chelsea Barracks as a red card slinger, and I remember him. I remember him joining, and I remember. Because I'd look at the assessments, the assessors would talk to me, say who's good, who isn't, who needs a bit more work, or this, that, and the other. And this, I'll never forget this. He phoned me up, and I didn't answer the call. I must have been busy, whatever. He left me a voice message, and he said, Steve, this is Connor. I'm just leaving. It was Nova East was the project. It was in Victoria, and this is probably like 8 years, 6, 7, 8 years ago now. And he said, I'm calling you because I'm just leaving this project. He said, I just wanted to say thank you. He said, I joined Keltbray as a red card slinger. I've worked through my blue card. I'm now a blue card lift supervisor, and I'm walking off this job today. And he said, I just want to say thank you because I feel confident to go on any job in London or anywhere and know that I can do that job confidently. He said, I just wanted to phone and say thank you. And listening to that, I just hung up and I thought, that's why you do it. That is like, and it's like wow. It's like, and then people can, like say, bash CPCS. They can bash training establishments or trainers and certainly, it's like, I think we need to all take a bit of responsibility on what we do with the men on site as employers, as employers, and as people putting these people to work. And yes, I got buy-in from Keltbray, and I'm really, really fortunate because they bought into it. But then with buying into it, we've all reaped the benefits because we're getting really good men that are really good at what they do. The incident levels of touchwood, when I say this, always dropped massively, and we're really lucky that because of the lack of complacency, because we consistently do it constantly. So we don't just say we do it all the time, every time, and it's like that has created a really good safety culture. Near misses and incidents still happen. You know, people have bad days. You know, complacency is a mother of disaster in what we do because you're doing something so every day. And one of the guys that does the I know I'm going on here, but one of the guys that does the lead assessor, it's a good friend of mine. His name's Sam. He had an incident on the project, and he was pulling some chains out from underneath a stillage. And he pulled the chains out, and as he pulled the chains out, the chain wrapped around his arm, and it was right below the operator. Chain wrapped around his arm. So he said to the driver, pinch it up a little bit so help me pull these chains out. You know, as you would, probably shouldn't, but you would. They were trapped underneath the stillage a bit. And as he pulled it out, the chain wrapped around his arm. The driver went from 1 into 2 into 3, and he grabbed hold of the chain. His radio dropped. That's why we'll talk about the Buddie System later as well, because that's another good thing. But his radio dropped, and he managed to free his arm, let go, and he fell from about I think it was about 15 meters or something.
Wow.
He fell onto a stillage full of augers. His arm, he's got a scar from here to here, and
Yeah.
it was like spaghetti, and he broke two vertebrae in his back. He couldn't work for about 9 months. He ended up, he lost he lost his girlfriend, lost his house. With what we do, he does a session where anytime we have something that's around complacency or near misses like that,
Mm, mm,
Sam goes in and he briefs the team, but he tells them his story. He tells
mm,
them what happened to him. He tells them he is the best person to do that because he
mm.
had it happen to him. And
Yeah.
then when you listen to him, I mean, it's like it's one of those. It hits you, it really
Yeah.
does. And then the lads listen. They're like, "There's reality here." Like, and
Yeah.
I'm proof of that. And that's a really powerful tool. And it's really, not unfortunate that happened to Sam, but how we use it is to try and drive away that complacency, which is it's really hard on a cold, rainy Thursday morning. When yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's hard, isn't it?
Particularly with experienced people as well. I mean, you talk about the RC operators that
Mm.
you've gone through. That they've got that complacency built in where they think they know it all and they don't want to learn of other people. And
Mm.
it's like when the most car accidents happen within the first mile of your house because you're so used to it. You do it every day, and you're
Yeah,
complacent. You just autopilot. So yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I totally get it. I totally get it. And the support thing as well. The amount of sites I've been on, like where the subbies have just got such a high turnover of
yeah,
slingers because they're getting bombed off site or they're arguing
yeah, yeah.
or they're getting pressure and they're getting shouted at and they're not getting that support.
Exactly that. Exactly that. So we have people like they literally. We pulled three people off. So I've got the video. I'll share it with you. I'll show you another day. It was like just three lads pulled off the site, and they talk about Keltbray lifting, and they said, how it is to work. And when one of them sort of said, you feel part of something, he said, and then this is not my words, I promise you. And he said, you feel part of something. He said, I get offered jobs, I get some, 50p a pound an hour more. And he's like, I'm not going anywhere. He's like,
Mm,
because of what you have here, and it's like that. To hear that is great, but that's what then sort of spurs you on to keep doing it. And when you
yeah,
get that consistent people for 6 8 years, and the only time it really hits me or hurts is like even recently, or sort of the middle of last year. I think everyone felt a bit of a slump in work. We had some major projects
mm,
finish, and
yeah,
and it was and at that point when these really great guys and you can't place them, it's
mm,
like that's really hard. And we lost a couple of the supervisors, some slingers, that just finished on big projects and delivered them so well. Like I really, really like. I take my hat off to them. I can't thank them enough for the work they did for us and how well how well they worked.
yeah,
And you really want them to know that. And then when they finish, you haven't got something for them. It's really, and one of them went to work for another subcontractor, and he turned up on one of the projects where our assessor goes, and he saw the assessor, and he's like Sam, man, he's like, when can I come back? When you've got something? And within
mm,
like a couple of weeks after that, we had another project started, which was
mm,
Fenchurch Street, and he'd come back in there, and
yeah,
with the
yeah,
guys, then we straight away we've got this really great lifting team there as
yeah,
well. So it's
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
Nice,
just
yes.
it
And you
literally is next level. It just fills me with massive pride.
and you keep a file of all the people as well, don't you? So you have a
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I was
So yeah, well, it's called we call it a competency portfolio.
yeah,
So literally every single person that works for us from their test, and every time we change the test and then we reissue and stuff, remind people, and also change it up and
yeah,
just kind of make sure we're consistent with that. And but then it's the assessment. So we some people 8 years, and we must have
mm,
we'll have like 60 to 80 pages of information on where they've worked, what lifts they've done, and it's a picture of them and observations, and we keep that. It's when people say GDRP and everything. If I say anything about like that, it's like what we keep it. So what happens when an incident happens? And obviously, I then get called in, and I sit in front of a client, a principal contractor, whoever, and it's like something like, I mean, for instance, a concrete skips hit a bit of a doker that's sticking out of some formwork on a blind lift, and that's a bit of concrete's fallen, the whole job stopped, and it's
Yeah.
massive. It's massive. So the first thing I find that happens is, right, so the guy who that was, so have you got rid of him? And I'm like, no, no, no.
Mm.
Why not? So first of all, let's talk about what happened, how it happened, and why it happened.
Mm.
Um, because yes, and then this is not like where we would promote people working unsafely and without regard for safety. You're talking about where people can make mistakes,
Mm.
like complacency, or just have that moment of distraction. Someone's
Yeah.
just called them something, and then when you sit there and go, so this guy, I know he is competent. How do you know that? It's like, and there you go, boom, and you put on the table
Yeah.
you put on the table their test and the assessments of every time you've been to them, and when you've seen them on their project and they haven't even known you've done it. So we
Yeah.
just do it. We're just doing it in the background, always doing it, constantly doing it, not
Mm.
talking about doing it, just always do it. That's the key thing. Is like, don't talk about it, don't do it once, just do it consistently. And then when they turn and look at you and they go, oh, right. So, okay, so you've got that for him. What about all the others? And you're like, we've got it for absolutely every single one of them out there.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Yeah.
can you send it all of us? Can you send it us all? Or can you send us all of it? Of course we can. It'll take 10 minutes. 10 minutes and you'll have all of it. Not won't take me a day, won't take me a week, 10 minutes and you'll have all of it. And that then stops that being about the guy not being competent and going into, well, what's he here? Where does he come from? Or, is he like this all the time? You have that background of, look, let's look into this and what the actual cause is, and then also not getting rid of someone. Sometimes when something like that happens, they're the person that learn big time, especially
Yes.
when it's like, when it's something that has a potential of doing something, as long as it's reported and dealt with, and it's dealt with in the right way,
Mm.
they will not do that mistake, make that mistake again. They're going to be the ultra focused one for the next, I'd say 6 months, whatever, but they're going to be ultra focused, and
Yeah.
they're certainly not going to make that same mistake again. So, it's
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
you just learn, you're just getting rid of that learning, you're getting rid of that
Yeah. Yeah.
person
Yeah.
that's learning that lesson. So
Yeah.
it's a big thing to sort of not promote, but when you stand there, I stand there, I sit there and go, no, we're not getting rid of him.
Mm.
And then other times you're like, yes, we are going to have to get rid
Yeah.
of him
Yeah.
because he's completely worked outside the safe system of work, not done a check, not done the things he should have done.
Mm.
And if it's that kind of unsafe act, and
Mm.
with complete disregard, you can't justify that, and you can't argue
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So there is differences, but predominantly the time I find is that's the time to pull them in, have a chat, and support
Mm.
them, and then
Mm.
and they usually learn that lesson really, really, really well, and don't do that again. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you hear this similar thing with the entrepreneurs, like the multimillionaires. Like if they've got staff that have made a big fuck up, like they might have cost the company, I don't know, 20 grand or whatever, or I don't know, 100 grand or whatever,
Yeah,
and then they
yeah,
say, like, well, are you going to sack them? Like, no, because I've just paid 100 grand to learn a valuable lesson.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yes,
So,
yes,
that won't happen
yeah,
again.
yeah. That 100 grand's wasted if I let that lesson go.
Yeah.
That's the kind of,
Yeah.
very much the mentality I
Yeah.
sort of have around it, and it's like, yeah. So, but again, I've got to go back to Keltbray, the buy-in. I am really, really lucky that they bought into that, and then from that, it kind of shows you that the approach works because it pays for
Yeah.
itself by
Yeah.
not having that revolving door and not
Yeah.
having incidents, things like that. So, but as a company, it's always hard to get them to pay for something that isn't tangible or you can't see. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? As
Yeah. Yeah.
far as
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you buy a machine, you buy a machine.
Yeah.
But buying into a system
Yeah.
that you don't get a return on, you don't see a return on, but the
Yeah.
return is every day by keeping the same men and not having incidents and having a
Mm.
job really flow and tick, like the production side of things. So it's
Yeah.
fortunately I work for as well.
Yeah. I was actually winding one of the guys up Ilber actually after our phone call. I said I've just been on the phone to Steve, and he said, "Oh yeah, what did he say?" I said he's had a lot to say about you, mate. Yeah, he's got a file on you, and everything, a file that
Yeah,
big, and
yeah.
he proper bit. He wouldn't shut up about it.
Oh, no, yeah, but
Bless him.
he just come over from Salisbury Square. I think
Yes,
Salisbury Square was his like see.
yes,
I know who's where. I tried to keep on top of who's where, and every now and then I get a message from like Steve over here. Can you give me some more money? So and others and
yeah,
others,
yeah, 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 yeah.
but that's what I know. I never really wanted to be that too distant from them either. People are like, oh, you shouldn't really deal with that, Steve. And it's like, I don't mean that like, you get to
Mm, mm,
wherever, but I like how they can reach out. It's not always yes, but
mm,
it's the fact that I still want to be contactable and
yeah,
and that kind of thing. And
yeah,
also, like I say, with the Uber as an example, I try and keep on top of who goes where. Like I know
yeah,
the team, I know probably 80% of the team that are at Fenchurch Street, 80% of the team that live at Victoria, and we're just starting at 60 Gracechurch Street. And I know it was actually today we went in there. There's a demolition team in there that have a few dual roles. So early
mm,
on they have dual roles, and my assessor went in and said, "Look, this isn't being on one of the projects. Wasn't isn't You're not managing this correctly. You know what I mean?" So one of the last lift supervisors to come off Salisbury Square has gone in there, and now
yeah,
all the paperwork's going to be on in place, or everything's going to be tagged, everything's going to be because you've got that good guy,
yeah,
and you can. The assessor spotted that.
mm,
It wasn't the project team. So it's not always the project team going. Let's get this in. We go and
mm,
we can kind of then we can
yeah,
then kind of try and force the hand and make sure things are in place. That's what I mean with about culture and change of not just the lifting team. It's everyone.
yes,
So, but it's the
yes.
interaction with the project teams as well, which is really really key.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely. So is it the independent assessors you got, or are they in house?
they're in house. So
Right.
the assessors, like so we say assessor, we've got. I didn't go to someone who's like an NVQ assessor or a
Mm,
CPCS trainer. People that do that job have come through being slingers, lift
right.
supervisors, and
Yeah.
being coordinators and being the best at that. And I'm like, you are the guys I want to go to our projects
Right.
and mentor our guys. And I'm
Mm,
lucky that we've had three. There was three. One had to go because of work recently, but he looked after piling. We had just an independent person just doing all the piling constantly.
yeah.
Piling jobs very much slowed down, so he's moved on. Whilst we're quiet again, like you
Yeah.
say, you can't always keep people. The other two, just they're apps. They're fantastic. Even things like
Yeah.
they go to projects and things like toolbox talks. It's not you don't have this like a library of toolbox talks you just keep on churning out. They experience something, they see something. We then build up a toolbox talk or build up a process around how we communicate that and how we how we get it over to the lads and record it as well. So
Mm,
that's another great thing where it's not just there's so many elements to it that you
yeah.
get. It's like it's almost infinite because every month we're doing something, we're adding something to it, and
Mm,
yeah,
yeah.
it's really really good.
Yes. Well, there's another element. The centralized AP system that you have. That's something else that you do, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's again, sometimes you look at something and you think it works very, very well, and it's probably the envy of some people because you would think, if I could sit here in front of you and go, right, this is like when I first went to Keltbray and I started with them, this is like stroking a cat. This was my grand design.
Yeah.
This is how I
Yeah.
wanted it to be. It wasn't everything's organically grown, so it's kind of was me on my own, and then added one person, two people, three people, and kind of grew. And you've learned very much on the way of how that works and how that system works
Mm,
best and how we do it. So how it is with Keltbray, we have a centralised team of APs that are based in Plaistow, in East London. Um, they all have done and are our continuing to do all the advanced AP training. So we go into this. Kev does that. I've just got an email from Kevin yesterday for the next course that he's running on the advanced AP, on the tower crane module, the crawler crane module, the excavator module. So these guys, they're not. A project AP for when we place them, we call them a coordinator. They coordinate the project. These guys, our centralised team, are different. They plan lifts all day, every day. They plan. They attend complex lifts. They've done fleeting and lifting, fleeting and movement of loads courses, so they know every bit of equipment we use or we plan for, including rescue. So we do all the rescue planning, and we've got formal training in being able to plan rescue, not someone just doing it. We've had formal training from our training provider. And what happens then is these guys get really, really competent in what do we need, what do we look for, what do we need in a lift plan. And it's kind of, I don't know, say you're using concrete inserts to lift some precast. They know what the mode factor needs to be considered. What to look for in the design. They know what the included angle is. They know this. It's like because there's a room of APs that if someone of them doesn't know the answer, he will, or he will, or he will. And it is again like being on site when that's working. And I'm sat in the corner, I'm testing in the corner, I was in a room with them. When that is working and they are that sort of collaboration comes in, I sit there and I'm like, it's great.
Yeah.
But then it's like different specialisms, or one of them very good with form work and done lots of slip forms, one's an engineer, another one just does a lot of work on rail, and then it's just so they all bring something slightly different, and it's kind of, but then collectively we have this great competency and this really, really great team. I value all of those guys so much, and you try to do everything you can for them. Money's always the one. Everyone wants more money, and in a difficult market, a different time, it's hard to do that. To keep your people, it has to be. You have to create a really good environment and support them. And when things are difficult, things are hard enough as it is. You don't want to come to work and, for me, be dogged and put down on this, that, and the other. So I'm very much of like, let's get in here and let's try and fill everyone's cup, because that means they'll do the job well, they'll enjoy doing the job, and then they'll also stay. You get a consistency then. So that training, that investment, it's what it is. It's training and investment. When you're training people and not having that environment, they're going to leave, and that money again is that $100,000 you were talking about. That's walked out the door, and it's because of your culture's wrong, and and your environment. That's just how I feel anyway.
Are you a red card crane op? A red card slinger? Digger driver? Scaff? Bobcat driver? Whatever it is you do in construction, I connect people like you with NVQ Assessors who can take you to the next level in your career. Whether you're a steel fixer, decorator, tiler, bricklayer, even if you're in management, get in touch to have an assessor help you on your way. You can call me on 01544 329 369 or email info@constructioncogs.com. What if you're an employer? The same applies, with an added bonus that our assessors can organise funding for your staff's assessments if you're paying a CITP levy. I'll let you in on a little secret. My main assessor has a superpower of slight OCD tendencies, giving him a keen eye for detail and making him very prompt and reliable. For more information, check out constructioncogs.com/NVQs. Stay safe, I'm proud of you.
Sorry, I should have cleared this up from the start, really, because there might be listeners out there who are not sure what an AP is, or what a centralised AP is, and the alternative. So just want to briefly explain that. what the
Yeah.
alternative is, and yeah,
Yeah, so other you appointed persons. For me, there's different types of appointed person, I should say. So, an AP who looks after a project. So you could have two tower cranes on a project, and an AP, subcontractor or the principal contractor would have an AP on site, and he would probably review lift plans and supervise what is going on, ensuring everyone's paperwork's in place, everything's being carried out as per their lift plans, their safe system work. A very, very important job, and it's very responsive, a high responsibility job. However, when I say a lot of no, be careful here because I don't want to alienate anyone or anything like that. Whereas, like when you look into really complex, detailed planning, where you're doing AutoCAD drawings and you're going really into it, if you haven't done that, you to hold an AP ticket and you're still an appointed person. If you haven't done that, that's very hard to just go, oh, can you just now do a tandem? We want to lift this big, massive steel beam. We need to use two mobile cranes and we need to do a tandem lift. Can you now plan that? And it's like, wow, that's a different thing. And you again, just like on site where you build up the confidence, the knowledge, and gain the experience you need to be able to do that job well. It's the same the other way with lift planning and how that works. So we kind of separated it a bit. So we have when we have external work and our people on site, we don't put an AP on the job. We have the APs visit and we have them doing the lift plans again at a high standard. And the guy on site would be a really good lift supervisor coordinator because if there's a complex lift going on or something that needs to have an AP ticket, we just attend. The team attend and we do that. Whereas the guys on site, they're really, when you've got a really good lift supervisor or a really good coordinator, I look at a coordinator as being a step up from a supervisor. Within the British standards and everything, it sort of says someone to just you don't even have to be a lift supervisor. You don't really have a qualification. There isn't a ticket for it. It's someone who's in charge of the coordination and movement of cranes and lifting operations. However, I think that person is just like a senior lift supervisor. So that's the guy that doesn't touch the chains. We're down at Victoria. We've got Costas down at Victoria. I went to see him a couple of weeks ago, and he doesn't just touch the chains. However, he's out on site and he is watching. He's making sure everyone has their breaks, making sure everything's being done correctly, making sure all the paperwork is in place, make sure the briefing's done and it's specific to what's actually going on. And he goes into the meetings to make sure that we know what logistics is going on and what's coming in the next day. And that's his role. And me personally, I don't feel you have to have an AP ticket to do that role. I think the AP course is a 5-day commitment, which costs guys money and is 5 days off work. So, for me, and that teaches you how to plan a mobile crane, mainly a mobile crane lifting operation, where most of the guys on projects like you're on, Jimmy, and the tower crane projects, they don't need to know that. More so, go and do the select tower crane module because that tells you exactly what an AP needs to do around a tower crane, and how you manage a tower crane project. And that's the kind of thing where with Autumn, we go back to that system where we mentor them into that role, and I don't if someone's got an AP ticket, it's a bonus usually because clients like people to have that. But I think I very much focus on competency based on knowledge, experience, and they're actually the role they're carrying out as well. It's kind of that. So that's how we do it. So that is where it's different. It differs, and both are very important. Both have their roles.
So would each AP in the office, in the centralised system, would they be allocated a specific project that's their project?
Yeah, so this is where so because of how busy we can get as well. So that was how we would you try and make it that way. And also certain project managers and certain project teams we'll build a relationship with one of those guys, and it'll be we have a centralized email address, but they might say it's lifting up inquiries, but then they might go lift up inquiries. Hi Alex, can you look at this? And it's like then if Alex is on holiday or he's swamped, it'll be oh yep no worries Martin. Dave will pick up on this one, and he's been briefed. What we do though is if an AP does a site visit to go and plan a lift, he plans that lift. Because it's like that's very important. Where he's the one that's been to see the environment, done the whole sort of assess the project, and that's what happens. So, and also things like I'd say I use Fenchurch Street for example. The slabs in and the props are underneath. So now we've got to go back and this is different lifting where we now have to use A-frames and chain blocks and skates to hold and remove props with slabs above you. So each of those operations, the individual will go and they will plan that operation. But then in a 2 weeks' time, if there's more props over that corner, they might not be available. But in the office, everyone's spoken about it. So everyone's copied into the lift plans going over. So everyone sees it. And in the office, they are like, oh, what are you working on? Oh, yeah, just doing this lift plan. What we do have as well, which is really fortunate again for us, is we have our own 3D modeler. So in the office, in the room, his name's Mike, and he's brilliant. So everything the lads do, they'll go to sites like we'll need to, to say take out some props with two A-frames. And then from the A-frames, we need to drop it onto some skates, and we need to skate it across, and then it's going to be picked up by something else. And they're visualized, what they say to him, he will put into a 3D model, and then we can put that into the lift plan. And that is for getting things signed off and for getting the lads that are actually doing the work. That picture and that image is like such a godsend. It's like you've seen your lift plan on your project. Every single lift in there is 3D modeled, and it's where you need to look at which way the hooks go around. We can zoom in and you can see it, and it's like all the guys have it on their phones, is on a WhatsApp group and stuff, and they can refer to it. Some projects do like 200 lifts in a schedule, so having that, be able to refer it, and that really clear picture. So we've done that for about us sort of. I've been lucky again 6 years again, and I was given that resource and buy-in because of the advantage it gives you. And so that's where you can just go and look at a lift plan, even one of the other APs, and go, oh, that was the method Dave used on that. So we can now reutilize that method again.
I think that is the way forward. Technology is going heaps and bounds these days, and more people are implementing that. But I mean, the centralized system, I do get it. But when you told me about it before, I was wondering if there were any trade-offs to that. And one that I thought of was that it is nice to have an AP on site sometimes. Sometimes they can be a pain in the ass, but it is nice to have someone to go to if there are any issues, if you've got any questions, if you're not sure about this, that, and the other. But you kind of answered that anyway, because you said that you have competent lift supervisors on site anyway. You make sure they're competent to be able to address those issues anyway.
It's 100% because it's kind of their work to a schedule or a say system of work that's in place. If there's something that's not in place or not in that's when they just get on the phone and we speak to the AP, and we will advise them, and then someone will just come down to visit, or it would have been picked up when the assessors. So the assessors will go around their APs, and when they go, some of the times it's them that picks something up, like. It's like, oh, that's not in your schedule. We need to get that added on. They'll be on the phone to the office. That's kind of there is probably trade-offs with that. Some other people, but the thing is as well where we go back to competency. If I had 30 projects, Jimmy, and I put 30 APs on, and an AP on every project, there's 30 people. They're reviewing lift plans. They're producing lift plans. How do I control the standard of that? How do I know the competency level of that person? So it's kind of, we remove that reviewing and producing from the project, but I'm not removing the competency of the person to coordinate that project. You
Yeah.
see what I mean? It's
Yeah.
the coordinators. They're all the only thing they don't have. Well, some of them do have. Some of them do have an AP ticket, but they don't. They're not employed as an AP
Yeah.
to review lift plans and produce lift plans. So
Yeah.
they have, as for some of them, for me, have as good a knowledge as an AP, other APs would have, because they've reached that coordinator level.
Yeah.
And that's just my view again, and it's just our approach.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
but if I think if I have 30 projects, how do I know when you so we recently on an external project in this instance where the driver pulled the Slinger, they were pulling out some stairs, and there's something that got trapped. The driver pulled too much weight, and the Slinger obviously didn't stop him, and the concrete insert popped out.
Mm.
Yeah. So when that happens, to go back to the planning, and it's like the lift plan and the methodology, I knew for a fact that straight away I knew that would have been design checked. Design would be in the lift plan. The included angle you're allowed to use it. Everything would that should have been in place was in place, and I knew that before we even had to attend site. Now, if I had 30 APs all
Yeah.
doing that, would I be able to go guarantee, okay, I know that that's going to
Yeah.
be, all those things are going to be done and in place. And
Yeah.
I think it is how it's sort of, genuinely sort of organically grown, but I'm very comfortable with it as well. It
Yeah.
does give me that, yeah.
It makes sense. It makes sense. The other
Mm.
thing as well, another downside of having an AP on site is what I found with that is sometimes get drawn into tasks that, in my opinion, they shouldn't really be focusing on. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like crane allocations, timesheets, and all this, that, and the other, rather than actually looking after the lifting side of it and make sure the lifting's done.
Yeah.
The principal contractor will get them doing all other bits and pieces, which I don't
Yeah.
necessarily agree with.
So this is absolutely bang on what I was sort of almost trying to get at, where we say our external client, we've got a big external client, and I work very closely with their health safety director, who's really supportive, and we call them a coordinator. The reason we call them that, they've all got AP tickets that we place on these external jobs, right? But we call them a coordinator because as soon as you say he's an AP, the project want him then to review lift plans, want him to do all this extra stuff,
Mm,
where it's his job. What they want him to do is they want him to be out there running the lifting,
yeah,
managing the lifting. So yes, briefings, yes, the paperwork as far as Lola, making sure all that's their role, yes. But if you're reviewing, if it takes one of my lads 3 hours to review a lift plan, where's
mm,
that guy for those 3 hours? He's not on site. He's
mm,
not managing. He's not the eyes and ears you need him to be. He's in the office. What maybe you need to generate a lift plan. That could take 8 hours.
yeah,
You've lost that guy for a day. Where's your control of that? Why is that person in that role? And that's why with us taking that responsibility or those responsibilities away, the focus is you coordinate and run this job, and
yeah,
do that's your role. And like you say, even what happens, I think, is some people, some contractors or some principal contractors even, they have people that are an engineer or a project manager or site manager who are the AP as well. And
mm,
then that's like a dual role where you're not there, they just get very, very busy and
yeah,
you're not doing wearing those two couple of hats
yeah,
is can be, commercially probably good. But that's where I sort of talk about what we do as well
yeah,
within external clients or our project teams, where it's you don't even need to do that, because when we're sat in our office in East London, we're not costing anyone any money until we do something for you. So we only have a bill. So that takes 3 hours. There you go. Your charge 3 hours. Keltbray
yeah,
or anyone external, 3 hours. So it's kind of like you have this thing sat there where it's like it's not costing
mm,
you when
mm,
it's day to day. It's not costing you, but when you need something, there you go. There's a little bit of cost, and it's
mm,
like so. That's
mm,
it's a way it's doing well. Hopefully doing us okay at the moment, and Anyone
Yeah.
out there who needs more external work and needs, lifting management and competency. But I don't think this podcast is about that, is it? So
No,
I'm not going to.
no,
I'm not going to. No, I'm not going to sell
plug
myself.
away, man. That's fine.
No, it's not. I'm not here. I'm not here for that. It's like, it's just, yeah. I'm just happy to be
Yeah.
here, Jimmy.
Yeah, no, good man, good man. Before moving on, I just want to touch another thing on that aspect as well. Is what I found as well. It's actually funny. The first day on one of my projects that I went on, one Stratford, a Lend-Lease job. First day, the AP said, "Look, I don't care how long the job takes. I'm not here to get it done on time. I'm here to get it done safely." And I was like, "Yeah, you're my guy. You're my guy."
Yeah,
But you do get some contractors that will try and encourage the APs to encourage the lifting team to push it on a little bit,
yeah,
possibly do things that they shouldn't be doing.
yeah.
And I do pull them up on it if they come on the road and say, "Look,
Yeah.
you're meant to be here to get the job done
Yeah.
safely, mate." You know what I mean? So
Yeah. It's like, well, yeah. Be careful what you're asking here. You're not
yeah,
supposed to be. Yeah, you're not supposed. You're supposed to be the other side.
yeah,
The more the voice of reason.
yeah,
And I think sometimes I think even with we people buy packages and to crane companies and APs and their drivers probably themselves, and that's all very. It's quite
yeah,
friendly. It's quite friendly, and that's quite hard for the AP then as well. I
yeah,
think because
yeah,
sometimes sometimes maybe the operators are playing up a bit as well, and it's just that's a difficult situation. That's why I quite like it being us doing it as a standalone. We don't run cranes, I don't. We
mm,
used to run tower cranes. I don't run cranes, so
mm,
all we focus on is lifting management and provision of people as well, but lifting management mainly, and
yeah,
that's why I don't. There's no conflict of interest. Then you know what I mean.
exactly.
What
Yeah,
you're there to do is you are there. My guys on the projects are there to make sure the project is done and it's done safely.
yeah,
And if anyone else tells you not to, then the support's there
mm,
to maybe re-educate them, maybe, or just
yes,
yeah. And that
yes,
doesn't,
yeah,
it doesn't mean shouting and screaming. It just means just having a proper conversation. That outlines. The thing is, when things go wrong, that's when people go like this. And when they push you and everything, when you've had things go wrong or you've seen things go wrong,
mm,
when people do that, it's like you try and explain. It's like, do you know the consequences of what you're asking, or do you know what happens? And if you haven't done everything correctly, as you should do, whether it be following the lift plan correctly, or not working in a wind with a massive shutter on, and the other side of that is that you got to explain that after a fact of why the hell you did that or you made that choice.
mm,
Um,
yep,
and if you're on the wrong side of that, it's not a nice place to be, and not that I have been, but we've had stuff happen, and when
yeah,
people have asked you, we followed everything we should have. Thank God
mm.
we did, and that's kind of if people need to realise that and be
Well, yeah,
reminded
well,
of it.
I mean, yeah, things do happen, don't they? But as long as you've had the provisions in place, and like you say, there is a bit of a blame game, unfortunately,
Yeah.
rather than the learning game, it is a bit of a blame game, unfortunately.
Well, it can be when people push you to do something, and someone pushes, like, again, a slinger. So push a slinger, just get it done. That
Yeah,
goes wrong, or something happens. That, say, site manager or whatever, he's not going to be gone.
yeah,
The slinger will be gone. And the fact
absolutely.
is, he was pushing me like, no, no, I wasn't.
Mm,
You're the slinger. It's your
yeah,
job. Not my,
yeah.
and I've seen that happen. I've seen it happen loads of times where, it's like all that pressure comes on, but then when something does happen, it's like, oh, he's the lifting team. It's them. It was them. It wasn't me.
Well, I mean, it's the same as me. If I kill somebody, if I've done something that I'm not supposed to do because somebody's told me to do it, I can't go and say, "Oh, they told me to do it." They're
Yeah,
going to say, "Well, it's your ticket, Jim.
yeah, exactly.
You've
Yeah,
lost your ticket now. You're
yeah,
going to
yeah,
jail." You know what
yeah,
I mean?
exactly. It is, and it's
Yeah,
that's a good way of sort of putting it across to people as well when
yeah,
you're voicing your concern about something, maybe
yeah.
that kind of thing.
And this
Sorry,
is, I
go
mean, we talk about safety, we talk about culture. You're trying to change the standards. you're trying to make an impact on the standards, aren't you? BS 7121,
Yeah,
ILAB,
yeah,
what is it?
yeah.
ILAB G and all that.
I love G, yeah. So ILA, APG,
Yep.
so yeah, just I was fortunate enough to get involved with the British standards before 2016, 17 for the drafting of the 712 on part three. And it was again a funny story. You know, when sometimes you get the imposter syndrome. So I managed to get myself onto the committee, and the imposter syndrome. Everyone has that, where it's like, oh, should I be here? Shouldn't I? So I went to the PSI headquarters that's in Chiswick, and this is honestly a true story. And if I look at Steve Bradbury, who's your head of engineering,
Yep.
he'll confirm the story. So I got there, and I thought I'm on time and everything. You have to pass, and you go into the code on the door, and anyway. So I've walked in, and this is me. That's 2016. It was released in 2017. So 2015, 2016. And I've walked into this room, and everyone's there with their laptops open, and I'm not being funny. I know most of them there, but they all look like boffins, and I'm like straight away, I'm like, oh my God. And the thing is, I didn't even have a laptop with me. I literally walked into the room, and I got my notebook out, and I sat there with a notebook. I thought, I've brought a knife to a gunfight here, haven't I? So I felt out of place straight away. And it was funny because how you learn how standards work and how they get generated, and the BSI sort of not adjudicator, the standards writer, to make sure that the BSI is very strict around how you can word things and how things are put and how clauses are put together, because you can't be too not descriptive. It's a guidance, so they're very, you can't say you must do this, and if you do this, everything's going to be fine. It's kind of very much. But this guy got up and he sort of said, right, for a new standard they do a business case, and the BSI does a business case. And he stood up and he said, right, so BSI have done this for part three, and the business case is that our standard is going to remain pretty much the same. We're just doing a review. And I sort of sat there and I'm like, I kind of put my hand up like I was at school almost. And I was like, because I've got my notebook and I don't know what to do, so I put my hand up. And I said, I'm sorry. I said, I've really fought to get in this room. Like, this being here is massive for me. And it's like, and I thought I was here to make a difference. And you're telling me that what we're going to do is we're just going to keep it all exactly the same. It's like, what? I kind of expected different. I expected more. And the whole room went quiet. And I sat there, I thought, oh God. And then but across the room was a gentleman called Tim Watson, he was the chair of like so many standards. He was like he was the oracle of lifting, and he sadly passed away. I must have been about, I don't know, probably 10 years ago now, but he was a massive loss to the industry, and he was such a great guy. And he sort of sat opposite and he smashed his fist onto the desk, literally. I've never seen him do this ever. Smashed it, and he went, Steve's right. If you don't let the committee proceed how we see fit, then you're wasting everyone's time. And I sort of BSI person was like that, and said, okay, well, hold on, I'm going to have to go and get some advice. And out he goes, and I'm sat there thinking, oh my God! Like within 5 minutes of me being here, I'm like, oh God,
Causing ripples,
causing mayhem. It's like, but then literally half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, and then the come in with a lady who's obviously probably like one of the must be senior sort of managers within BSI. And she said, right, we've had a discussion, we've had approval. The BSI will let the committee proceed how they see fit. And Tim said, thank you very much. Now, can we start? And I sat there and I thought, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. I'm not. It's imposter syndrome sort of left me a little bit, and I was like,
your chest out. Yeah.
I was like, that's why I'm here. And as you start getting into it and start going into things, you can really look at things from your perspective of the team you put to work and the environments you're in, and you can kind of try and have your say. It's very difficult because the standards have to be very tight, and there is difficult wording. So, although every single person in that room is there trying to improve things, it's very hard to do something drastic or outrageous to improve things. That at the moment, I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, a definitely once in a career opportunity, because we went to redraft part 4, which was under Keith Sylvester, who's technical
Mm.
advisor for Army, and he's part 4 was the lorry loader. And when we got into it, the person who the writer from PSI, we were saying, referring to the other standards and trying to put words in, like, you can't do that. You can't do that. It's like, well, but that what that standard does and that standard does. And what happened is standard got very disjointed. So what they've done is they've done a massive business case, and the committee is now reformed. A really great committee with great membership, really good people around that table and involved, and they're starting from scratch from part 1 and working through everything. And this is, like, say, when I say once in a lifetime, once in a career opportunity, where this is the opportunity where the biggest rewrite of lifting standards probably ever has been is about to be started, and I'm fortunate to be a part of that, and
Mm.
that and the people around the table fill me with confidence as well, because they listen to each other. We have really good discussions. Some of them are difficult discussions because people come from different environments. So it could be offshore, could be, a Leah member. There's principal contractors. There's me working from a subcontractor. There's people that work as consultants and advisors and advise companies and stuff. So you're getting some of petrochemical and worldwide, and they all come with, like, how their businesses put risk in and how they
Mm.
build standards or they build procedures or processes. But it's very different with a British standard how you do it. So having that real kind of mixed bag of experience and people, it can be difficult because
Yeah.
they're a really great team of people, and it's chaired by Tom Pawson, and Keith Sylvester's very active. He's very good at keeping people on track and keeping it as keeping the project moving. And yeah, I'm really proud to be involved in
Mm.
that, and like I say, I'm really happy to be involved with the other professionals around the table as well, which is good. So hopefully we push on, and we get it as right as you can get it, and
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
it helps. I think maybe we can make sure things are less up for interpretation, and make sure try and give a little bit
Mm.
clearer guidance and
Mm.
things like that, and also learn where we've all probably come across parts in the standards that someone's interpreted incorrectly
Mm.
or could be improved. And I've experienced certain parts of that I've already thinking, when it gets to that bit, I know that I want to say my piece, and I want to
Mm.
try and make that better and clarify that more. And that's yeah. So that's lucky. I'm here for the guys on the ground. The
Well,
guys that are doing it. So that's kind of what I
I mean,
mean.
does this mean that there's going to be a learning curve then for people who now need to comply to these new standards?
Well, there definitely will be. Now, the standards they're still, even how they're laid out and things, they're trying to it's trying to restructure, because some of it is here, there, or this, and
Mm.
so trying to make it flow better as well. So hopefully it'll be a case of it's saying similar things, but just in a better way as well.
Right.
That kind of thing where nothing's say has endemically broken. It's just a case of it needs from part 1 has to be that almost that Bible that everything else feeds off. And
Mm.
with the other standards then would more refer back to that standard than change the dialogue or the narrative. So you very much have to get both. If your standards aren't cheap, but you can't just because probably won't be able to just go, oh, I get the mobile crane, it's
Mm.
part 3 mobile crane, because it will refer to part 1.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it's going to have to be done. That's going to be like the Bible, if you like, and then the other ones are going to be specific, a little bit more specific to the individual piece of equipment the standards written about, which I
Yeah.
think is a good thing. It's like you're
Yeah.
having some terms and conditions, and then having supplementary terms where this is the meat of it, you learn this, but then if you want to know about a mobile crane or a lorry loader, then you reach out to that part, and it'll be more specific about that. Won't have all the other sort of stuff in it, and if you want to know the stuff, you can refer back to it. So yeah, it will be a
Yeah,
bit of a
cool.
learning curve, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Well,
maybe do another one of these
yeah,
in 12 months,
yeah, yeah,
and we'll be further on it. I'll say,
yeah.
Jimmy, you wait.
It's all gone to
It's
pot.
gonna,
None of
yeah,
it's worked.
yeah. Well, maybe in
But
a year, it's like as long as we're past like section 3 by a year, because it's can be slow going as well.
right, okay, okay. But what about the industry as a whole? Do you think things are getting better?
Um, I think, as an industry, I think it's been so challenging. There's so many challenging things happened, like around the world,
Mm,
even internally. If you're going into politics, but changing in governments, changing in things. It's been so challenging that it's been hard for people to make money.
yeah,
So then with that, then it's like, where are things then cut? Right, how do you get that keen edge? How do you beat someone on a price, or how do you beat someone on things?
mm,
And in hard times, things can come down to price, and it's kind of, how
mm,
do you do that without jeopardizing safety or production and things like that? So yeah, it has been, I think, more challenging. I think definitely the last since COVID, I'd say that's the most challenging period I've I've witnessed,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
pre-COVID, I thought was the good times. It's like
yeah, yeah,
there was lots of work, there was good money, there was rents weren't crazy. It was just like you know yeah, but since then, I think there's wars all over the world, and there's shortage of materials, and then this
yes,
is
it's
do you
all
know it
sorts.
it just it does it does it does it
Yeah,
knocks on, and it's I think we could do in a couple of years of good luck and good news and stuff
mm,
where it's kind
yeah,
of people, let's get some buyer confidence, let's get materials flowing and trade flowing, and then we can really start pushing on and
mm,
and getting back to where construction is not just a good career for people, but even for companies as well, that they do well. And I think, companies do well, then people do well. It's kind
mm,
of very much linked, isn't it? It's,
yeah, yeah,
when
yeah,
when work slows down, it'll be a case of, we talk about money, so people say, right, okay, we're really slow, we've had to we've made people redundant, then no one's going to get a pay rise, no one's going to get a bonus,
mm,
because
mm,
you can't do it. They can't, and that's
yeah,
where, so for us and people who are listening to this, you're looking at your company saying, "Oh, well, I need more money because everything's
mm,
costing more," and they haven't got more money to give you because
mm,
they just won't exist anymore.
yeah,
It's a really hard catch 22. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
everything's
I've,
going up, Jimmy, isn't it? It's like everything, and wages don't go up to match that enough, and but companies can't afford to pay those wages to match that. So it's kind of, let's
Yeah,
say,
there's a whole load of things going on. There's a whole
yeah,
load of things which is probably for another episode actually. But I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
planning like Grenfell affected it. Like the
yeah,
planning is sort of very
yeah,
stringent. It takes
exactly.
longer and
Yeah,
all that
that
sort of
that
stuff.
backlog was stopped work completely, and it was like that was
Yeah,
a big 6 month gap for everyone. So going back to your question, construction, I think definitely has been more difficult in the last
yeah, yeah,
sort of 5 years, I would say, and
mm,
but it doesn't mean it's a bad area to work in or anything like that. It's just more challenging.
mm, yeah,
Yeah, so we go
yeah,
back to things like apprenticeships and stuff where there's things like that where things are subsidized, and you can you can bring people into the industry and can afford to do that because you have a bit of a subsidy and
mm,
training levies and things like that. I think that's where they're really important, and but you can still attracting people into the industry, let's be
Well,
honest.
I mean that will help with the skill shortage there is in the industry.
Yes,
Definitely,
exactly that.
definitely. I'm hearing good things on the forecast anyway for the next year or two. I'm hearing some very positive stuff. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
I think by September, yeah, there's definitely going to be improvements. You know,
Yeah,
the about second, the third, sort of third and fourth quarter this year, things are definitely
yeah,
gonna look up. And
yeah.
like I say, remember we might have a good couple of years of good times and good luck. But you know,
Yeah,
let's all hope and.
we bloody need it.
There is positive signs and positive talk, isn't there? So
Yeah,
that's
oh
good.
yeah, definitely.
I think we need to with HS2 coming near and then with a super mega project. I think the Lower Thames Crossing is going to be a good project for
Yeah,
people in the London area anyway. And
yeah,
HS2 reaching getting nearer the end of that sort of cycle. I think as
yeah,
a country we need the next mega project. We had Crossrail, we had the Olympics. We had Lower Thames Crossings coming up, but the HS2 Hinkley Point and now Sizewell starting. They take up, they absorb a lot of labour, a lot of resource, and keep a lot of
mm,
people in work.
absolutely, absolutely.
So roll on Sizewell.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
on for it.
Well, I've kind of put my name down for it, but I'm not sure, to be fair. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So, what you're not sure about? I ask you a question. Is like, oh, when you working away from home and that kind of thing. Is
yeah,
that?
yeah. Well, yeah, I've done it and I didn't enjoy it. And the thing is with these big like Hinkley and Sizewell, it's like it's basically like a big prison camp, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
it is
massive.
exactly that.
It's just massive, and you're
Yeah,
in the canteen. You've literally got 150 other crane people. Then like,
yeah,
it's just not for me. It takes you
yeah.
bloody 40 minutes to get onto the
Get
job
in
and the
there.
shuttle
Yeah,
and all. And I
yeah,
just think, no, I'd just like to. When I finish work, I literally don't want to think about work anymore.
yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Just shut myself
Yeah,
away from it.
but you're locked in it there, aren't you? And
Yeah,
you're in digs like almost like you say prison camp, but you're in like almost like army barracks if you like.
yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like that effect. But that suits some people because they'll
Yes,
go there for 12 days and they'll work and save money and they won't
yeah,
spend money, and then that sort of come
yeah,
away from there in 4 years and buy a house or
yeah.
so
Exactly.
it's kind of like that's what the joy of it is. I think it's when it suits some people, so it doesn't suit
Mm,
other. But in that taking up a lot of labour, it means that you probably have more of a choice, and you can
yeah,
stay in London, and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you can pick that job, or
yeah.
or select to try and place you near a home.
Mm.
So that's yeah. So like I say, there's definite bonuses to these mega projects. I think
Yeah,
anyway.
100%, 100%. And yeah,
Yeah,
they do help to keep the economy growing.
yeah, exactly that.
Let's touch very briefly on the Earls Court project, the
Oh
1,500-ton beam
God.
lift.
God, that's
Yeah,
to 2016. It was like, oh, again, that's like, things happen again. Like I'm just talking here, like it's like, oh, me. It's not, I don't mean that. It's about your career. Things happen though. It's like opportunity knocks, and and next thing you like again. It's like you got to sort of pinch yourself. Is this really real? So I got involved in the court project. It was Mick, who's the project manager, and Bobby, the site
yeah,
manager. They delivered Earls Court. And I first got involved. It was still the full exhibition centre was there, and they were already on board. Well, they weren't on board just yet. They were on another project in Victoria. But first part of looking at it was starting to look at the full demolition of the Earls Court building. And the first mega thing we did was the roof structure was so large, and it was just literally like obviously a crow's nest of roof steel trusses, and think of the rigging that was hanging from it for the exhibition centre. It was huge, and I think that was 3,000 ton. That was or something along that 2,000 3,000 ton. What they did, it was amazing. I got involved at this point, but this wasn't my concept. It was very much Wentworth House, our engineers, and we engaged with a company called Fagioli, who are an Italian company who do heavy lifting and transportation, and very similar to Mammoet or what
mm,
was ALE, who we used further on the project. And they what they rather than put men at risk at 50 meters up in the air, trying to remove all this steel and piecemeal it and everything. And
mm,
what they decided to do is they put this heavy steel bar all the way from the basement through to the top floor of the Earls Court building at the side. So either side of the roof structure, there was like a walkway. There's a great video on YouTube, a walkway. And what they did is they put these heavy bars through all the floors and they made these like steel little sort of like hangmen like that sort of thing like that. And on the end of those, they put the strand jacks, and these picked up each individual truss of the roof. And what they did was pinch the roof up, and they just cut the gable end, and they lowered the whole roof to the ground. And it's
Wow.
yes, on YouTube, it was brilliant. I was there that day. It was, you know, when lifting is very underwhelming, when it's like goes so slow, you're like, this is it's the big day, and then you're like an hour later, it's gone about, it's gone down about 10 meters, and you're
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
said, go for a cup of tea and come
Yeah.
back and see.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe, well, the video looks much better because it's obviously it goes
Yeah.
nice and quickly. But it was just to be involved in that as a start was just incredible. But
Yeah.
the challenge come was when the building was gone. The building was built on top of 4 tube lines. So Earls Court goes from Earls Court. The building was shaped like that. That's the shape of like a triangle. So I'm not showing anyone what I'm doing here. It's just like just doing just like shaped like a triangle from Earls Court tube station here, and triangled out
Yeah.
and to the back, which we bordered the railway line at the back. And it was so where the building sat, it's literally sat directly on top of the tube line. So how they built it was when they were building the tube, they put big, huge, they call them portal beams. So they put columns either side of the tube tracks and put these huge concrete beams, and then the columns for the building sat on top of these, and that transferred the load either side of the thing. So when the building was all gone and everything, and we got down to ground, you're left with 61 of these huge beams. And you can see literally the soffit of the tube station, the tube tunnels coming like that. Again, when I say I'll take you through the pictures and stuff. But there's anyone interested, there's again videos on YouTube. It's ring crane at Earls Court. You'll see it. So when I first got involved, we was looking at like heavy crawler cranes and heavy mobile cranes to remove a couple of the beams, and the rest of it we're going to leave. But then they were like, can we remove all of them? And what the scheme they sort of looked at was heavy tower cranes, and they're so big and heavy that you'd have to first you have to cut them longitudinally into half, lift the top half, and then do the same. Well, you actually cut them into blocks on the top half and the bottom longitudinally. So all that wire saw cutting, tower crane lifting, because the capacities of the tower crane, you'd have to cut them to suit that. That would look, I mean, we're looking at over 2 years, 2.5 years, and the amount of spoil that would you've got the tube tunnel there, the amount of cutting, you can only lift over a network, a London Underground tunnel when there's nothing traveling through it. And I don't mean just during the day and in engineering hours. Even at night, engineering trains run through there all the time just because they're working on lines, and managing that, trying to do 50 cuts on a beam with 50 lifts it would be such a logistical nightmare. I don't know how they would have managed it. When I got involved, the director said, look at it, and I just read a thing in a magazine, being a brain geek you should do, about it was SGC 120, and it was the Sarens ring crane, and Big Carl is the SGC 120, probably the 300 or something. I can't remember what that's called now, but it's the 120. And I was reading about this ring crane, and I was like, God, we've got this like triangle area, and these beams are here, and there's this big round bit at the bottom here, and I'm like, he said, I spoke to the project director, a brilliant guy. His name's Jim O'Sullivan. I love him. And I said to him, I said, why don't we just lift the beams off home? He said, well, there's not a crane in the country that can do that. I said, no, but there's a crane in the world that can. I said, is that out of the question? He looked at me and said, nothing's out of the question, Steve. So what I did was, me and the technical manager, Dave Rowe, I looked at it and I thought, this works. I've got the spec sheet and I engaged with Sarens, and they come and run through it. I'm like, this could work. And I thought, if I'm going to be proposing this, I need some more knowledge. And it was like, so there was an event called Break Bulk, which is very similar to Balmer. It's kind of like for heavy transportation. And there was a gentleman called Richard Crabbendon who did this masterclass in heavy lifting and transportation, and spoke about how to use SPMTs, calculate central gravity, and carry out really massive heavy lifting with huge cranes. So I went to this course and went in there. And again, imposter syndrome, the petrochemical engineers, and this was so complex. The stuff, the formulas he was giving, it was so complex. And Dave Rowe, who come with me, he did engineering at university, and some of it was like I remember these. Oh yeah, I did some of this at university. I was sitting there, and I'm thinking, I am really, this is going over my head. I'm really struggling. And it's like, but then whilst we were there, we attended the expo, and that's when we met. So we met with Mahmood, and then we met with ALE, who had the SK. They were very, very impressive when we met them first, and then when we come back, we sort of engaged with or tried to engage with all three of them, but very much Sirens and ALE, who we mainly sort of were looking at. And a little bit when we did get back as well, you had to wait for your results to come through in the post. And I remember the letter coming in over the brown envelope. I opened it and I was thinking, oh no! And I opened it. It said, "You got a very good pass." And I was riding to work at the time. I was riding to Earls Court at the time because I was trying to cycle. I was doing a cycling trip, and I rode into work and I was like, "What did the officer?" Was like, Dave, did you get your thing?" He said, "Yes." He said, "What did you get?" He went, "I got a good." And I was like, "Yes." It's kind of, well, I just saw because like the lifting, you're supposed to be the lifting sort of expert, if you like, and everything. And I was really like, "Oh, please don't mess this up, Steve." And so it was another one that was just like, it was like, yes, I did okay. And but then we engaged with ALE. They come in and they were really impressive. And the SK is a very impressive machine for what we needed it for. We didn't have to put the whole ring out. It had safety devices on it that it's like a topping unit instead of a winch, and that in the event of anything, that's a mechanical lock, and it will not fall. When you're trying to lift over the London's infrastructure, these things, like, it was about a 8-month process of agreeing with London Underground and all their engineers and all the stakeholders. And we did it. We took three months to build. So in the middle of London, the crane had never been in a centre of a city ever. And there'd never been that crane. It was actually that crane had been in the UK. It'd been on a power station once, but it's like I say, never been in a city ever. And it's like trying to get it, even getting all the parts there over bridge structures, and it's like, what, it's like trying to get anywhere in London with a crane or anything like that. So it took 3 months to build, and we did 61 beams over 6 months. Everything carried out with no incidents, no failures, and then it took 3 months it took 3 months to 3 months to dismantle. And we still have the record for the heaviest lift ever by a land-based crane in the UK, and it was 1,500 ton. Yeah, still stands.
Wow.
So Hinkley the other day I keep an eye on that, because they did 1,300 and something ton the other day, and I was like, it's like, yes, still got it, but but it's something that's like it goes into our sort of, still see pictures of it in our promotional material. And it was such a brilliant project, and
I'll put the link of that on the description, actually, like the video. If you guide me to where, send me it, then I'll put it in there for everyone to watch.
I'll ping all that over to you tomorrow, because there's a couple of because there was 3 different things we did on Earls Court that are really interesting. That's in one video. It goes from the roof to this to that. And that's like really, it was one of those, what you'd say, like once in a lifetime projects. And there's a few times since we've got close to using one, or we haven't won the job, or like a nuclear site or something. But it was an amazing team. The team you're working with at Undershaft, they delivered this project, and they run such a close-knit team where, making them, they really look after the men, they really care about the men, and it's about the men and the boys bar more than, there's no point coming in there and thinking they're going to roll out a red carpet, because that's not going to happen. It's there about it's equal for everyone, and the boys, it's all about the people delivering the job. And I love that. I love their ethos and that focus.
They are. Let's talk about One Undershaft. Actually, they are great guys. From the minute I walked in, I felt welcome and felt part of it. So let's get on to as it's my second home for the foreseeable.
Yeah.
Tell us what it is. What is One Undershaft? What are we doing there?
So it's a really mega interesting project, One Undershaft, because as far as high rise, it's the second building we've ever done within Keltbray, within the London, where it's a top hung building. So in other words, in essence, the top of the building is like an upside down a coat hanger like
Yeah,
that. So that is when it ties into the core, and all the rest of the floors are hung from this top of this coat hanger.
yeah,
So a normal demolition method where you do top down demolition, you put heavy machines onto the roof and just break down and systematically remove the rubble or ramp down and break the building down. And where this is such a challenging engineering and challenging project is, as you know, Jimmy, there's something like I think it's 3,000 tons of steel have gone into the project, where what we've had to do after going through into 3 or 4 basements is put a whole new sort of steel column system through the whole building. So when the top of the hanger is cut, the
yeah,
whole thing won't obviously fall down. It supports itself. So you kind of redesigned the building, and they've had to install this in a building that's still there, rather than building
yeah,
from the ground up. You have now had to get steel in, which you've obviously had to lift in place
yeah,
and be a big part of that. Can then get it to where it needs to be, get it in, install it, and then to a high standard, and make sure that's consistent through. What, how many floors is on there?
Oh,
30
I
odd.
can't remember. What is
Yeah,
it?
mate.
26 or something? I can't
Yeah,
remember
it's
now.
something like I got through 30, but it's supposed to be
Oh yeah.
26. It's about
Oh yeah, because
130.
you got 4
Yeah,
basements.
yeah. It's about
Yeah,
135 meters high. Some of your
yeah,
towers,
yeah,
or your crane's about 135 meters high. So
yeah,
you're about there. It's a
yeah.
long climb. I'm sure you want to talk
Bloody.
about that later as well. I'm not gonna. Yeah, we want to talk about the climb, but we might. Let's mention it later because you look fit. So it's like keeping you healthy. But no. And the project team that have gone on there, we were at Earls Court, and for Keltbray they did one at Fenchurch Street, and again it was Mick and the team that delivered that.
Yeah.
So if anyone's going to deliver this project safely, it's them. We're lifting like 28-ton machines onto the
Mm,
roof,
mm.
and then so you're definitely leaning forward a little bit on that day,
A little bit.
when
Yeah.
when that starts to pinch up and everything. But then and they're gonna systematically sort of demolish the building from top down, then and then removing the temporary works as they go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's for Keltbray, it goes back to really what we was always our bread and butter, which we were a demolition company.
Yeah.
With this Fenchurch Street around the corner, which we did the demolition there, and that's where the floating church is. We've probably
Mm.
seen on
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of traction on that, which is amazing. But as far as an out and out demolition, this is like
Mm.
really, for me, this is going back to what Keltbray are really
Yeah.
good at, and this is what I think a very interesting project that I'm very much interested when it really gets going, and
Mm.
also the delivery of it. It'll be another one where you'd be really proud to be involved in that. And when you look at it as well, when you go down to the 3 basements or 4 basements in some places, I think it is, and then the next building that's going up is going to be the same size as the Shard,
Yes.
and I'm sure you might even be hoping that Select are successful in the package on that, and you might even stay for the build. Imagine that. It's like just
Well, it's,
taking down this amazing building and then being part of the
yeah.
newest,
Hopefully.
tallest building in the
Yeah.
UK.
That's still out for tender, is it?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I think I can't. I had noticed that we're tendering for like the basement and things like that.
Yeah.
So yes, there's still, I don't know if it's been been awarded, or
Mm.
any packages have been awarded. But you will, I think you definitely would have a very big interest in that.
Yeah.
And
Definitely. Definitely.
it's
Definitely.
but it's it's a project that's right up Select Street as well, with technical. Very technical demanding project.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're very placed to your strengths as well, which
Yes.
should be good for you.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting into we're kind of in the calm
In
before the
bet-
storm at the moment.
Yeah,
So I've had a long period. Obviously, you've had to put scaffolding all throughout the building. So I've had a
yeah,
long period of just purely sending scaffolding, and you can imagine it's just been so
yeah,
mundane, honestly.
yeah. I
It got
bet
to a
it's
point when I was thinking I need to get rid of these fucking scaffolders.
yeah,
But they're great
yeah,
lads, but it was just so mundane.
yeah,
So now it's a calm before the storm. You've got the asbestos people on the roof at the moment, waiting for them to go.
yeah,
And then I think
and
it'll
then
be starting to break things out, which will be
yeah.
good, be interesting. But I think I'll be fed up with the noise before too long, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah. So it's yeah, you're definitely willing to get quite a few floors down, but then you'll climb down and then meet them again. It's kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I got rid of you for a little bit, and then it's
yeah,
like, oh no, there you go again. It's like yeah,
yeah.
but the watching that from bird's eye view will be really interesting
Yes.
because demolition. I went to a demolition project we were at 60 Gracechurch Street the other day. So we were putting the tower crane in, and when you go into these projects, these demolition projects, and you see what has to be done to make the project even get going or
Mm,
start, or how they the engineering that has to go into to dismantling a building in a controlled manner, that everything has to be calculated, checked, and you think, oh, they're just up there banging out with the machines, banging out, which they are, they're just
yeah,
banging out concrete, they're banging out floors. All of that has to be sequenced. All of that has to be checked, design checked, and
yeah,
it's a real art. And I look at very different than building a building where you're working to a drawing that's you're putting that in, and it's like it's easier to price things like that, and that's why margins are very small on
mm,
things like structures projects. But with demolition, you could come across things that you didn't know were there. They're not on a drawing, or things do surprise you, and it's. I just think when I go and look at it, I do take my hat off to them. Where I'm like, it's not even going to the toilet. You go to the loo in your project, and in the toilet, you stand there and there's a big steel beam next to you.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
like that's part of the thing that's holding the building up, and that's
yeah,
in the toilet, and you're like,
yeah,
oh yeah, this is a proper project you're on here.
yeah,
This is like
yeah,
even in the loos, it's kind of that's how it is. It's
yeah,
but
yeah.
I do take my hat off to them. It's yeah, it's a very people would think, oh, just demolition men just going in banging the hell out of stuff. It's not. It's
No.
not. It's not the case. So you'll get a bird's eye view of a
Yeah, I
of
look
a
forward to it.
really interesting project as well. I'd say.
Yeah, and it's all going well so far, is it?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
with it, like anything with the building like that as well, you have asbestos. And
Mm,
if things like asbestos are very controlled. You have to, getting that to go getting through floors. And again,
mm,
you find more than you thought was there originally. So again, the team trying staying on program and sequencing so the asbestos guys can walk through the floors and then they're following behind them.
mm,
That again is sequencing, and that's where again Keltbray strengths a little bit where the asbestos cares is internal. We have our own asbestos company, and the demolition guys are ours, and then the steel guys we've all steel design done for us, and Wentworth House are our engineering team. That specialism and that like partnership and collaboration can be really key, on
yeah.
projects like this, especially to try and make sure you keep the program and you keep things going. So, yeah, as far as I'm aware, they're there or thereabouts, and they're doing so I think the special slightly slower than would have been anticipated really originally, but
Right.
they've done well to make up time
Yeah.
and yeah and stay sort of to the program path. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
again it's going well and doing a great job. And sometimes the less I hear here, that means it's going even better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's so Sam goes down and visits, and probably don't see much of him because you're up in the sky. But we catch up with Ilba and the rest
Yeah.
of the team. Um, and yeah, so
Yeah.
again, there's not a lot for him to report on at the moment because the scaffolders on the assessments, they all do the test as well. So we don't just
Mm,
test the Keltbray guys.
yeah. Yeah.
Everyone that goes on, so all the scaffolders that you were working with
Yeah.
all had to do the competency test, and we do the assessments when we visit on them as well. So I've got information on the scaffolders as well. So it's
Yeah.
not just us; it's kind of like anything that goes on your project.
Have you got a
Um,
file on me?
No, but we do an assessment on tower crane operators because you can't go up a crane and say, "Oh, the operator's this." But I think it's very good to do a like for like with what we do with the slingers. The case
Yeah.
of does he follow instructions? You know, what's his communication like? What's is he a bit quick on his levers?
Mm.
Is he does he operate? You know, is he? You know, all the things that we pick up for the slinger, we do an assessment, ground assessment. We haven't done one on your job, Jimmy.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure you'd be because you say you've only been doing sort of scaffolding and
Yeah,
bits.
yeah,
But one thing that Sam did say to me, you know, was and which was great to hear as well that the slingers and the lifting team for the scaffolders are really good. And
yes,
he said they were their communication, everything
yeah,
that we assess and we do. And this is again going back to the process we do,
yeah,
where you know that scaffolders, yes, they have to use cranes sometimes, but to know the team on there are good and they're giving the really good instruction to you and working well with you. That
yeah,
Sam confirmed that to me, and that's how this thing we do works. And I say about we do it because
yeah.
I know that the scaffolders are competent and decent on the job.
Yeah.
Um,
They're
and they've got
spot
to
on,
be.
honestly. Yeah, they're spot on, and it makes my life so much easier.
Yeah,
It really
yeah.
does.
But it's very tight when you go to the scaffolding, especially when you're probably so lower down as well, because you're so far up. It's like it's like looking at an
Yeah,
ant.
yeah,
And you're bringing the scaffolding right up to the building edge with
yeah,
glass in it, and then you get that wrong. That's going through the glass, and then the glass
yeah,
you're into a street. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
not. You know, it's still that finite
yeah,
lifting and that operating that has to be sort of spot on.
yeah,
Yeah, which is another thing. Could you say for yourself as well? When you look at say a yo-yo, you look at trying to control. The longer the string of that yo-yo is, the
mm,
harder or less control you have of it. So for an operator like you, and that's actually you a question as well, where it's like from going from a sort of standard 50 meter, 40 meter south, a freestanding tower crane to getting up
mm,
one with a tower that's 135 meters high,
mm,
and you're looking down and you're literally are seeing like ants.
mm.
Retraining yourself to operate in that situation must be a bit of a big learning curve for you. And
Yeah.
did Select have a way or process of doing that with you? You know, as far as have you worked up through sort of it's crane sizes, or did you have to you dropped in the deep end on one thing and you're like, right, I've got to learn here. This is like,
No, you kind of yeah, you kind of a crane is a crane is a crane really. So they all operate differently depending on the
yeah,
configuration, the size, the height, the model. So we had a good system where I did my apprenticeship. We went round and we shadowed some people.
mm.
So we shadowed operators and saw watched how they did
Oh
things,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
they put us in the yard for a couple of weeks and that sort of stuff. But in terms of height wise, not really. You kind of just sort of go on to various height cranes, but it was a bit of a learn. It is a say learning curve. It takes a little bit of getting used to jumping up a
yeah,
crane that high
yeah,
because so there's two folds to this. I do like the 50-meter cranes because they're they're high enough because when you've got not a lot of rope to deal with, it's harder to catch a swing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
they're high enough to be able to get a bit of control on the swing, but also low enough to be not a pain.
yeah,
The good thing about being tall, you have a long way down to be able to catch the swing and stuff like that and sort your
yeah,
load out.
mhm,
But
yeah,
the negative is there's a few negatives. One is you get a lot of flicking around with the ropes. You get bloody snakes
yeah,
all over the place, and
yeah.
there's a lot of torque on this crane, so it's just like flicks backwards all the time. So
Right.
you,
So yeah, so jolts back and sort of thing.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But that timing over a long rope, that must be quite hard to get.
yes,
To get the
yes,
knack of that, like you were saying, because you've got a lot of rope. So you think if that's going that way, you think I need to get over the top of it.
yeah,
You
yeah,
probably actually need to do that before it's even getting there.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
to meet it, it's like that's and people I think, anyone listening or watching as well, to you forget if someone pulling leaves on that, it's like you are controlling something with minute sort of level, from a string that's 135 meters long. That's
Mm.
like, I don't think enough credit is given to that and the skill that
Mm.
takes. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we're lucky to have you, mate, and thank you
Thanks very much.
thank you for and I think when I look at your content and when you're setting up a crane and the positive things you talk about,
Yeah.
and how you do it. I'll be honest, when we first met and I first saw your content, kind of
Mm.
first thing you think, oh no, is it going to be this going to be like bashing the site, or
Yeah.
you're very,
Yeah.
it's a genuine, it's being completely honest,
Yeah.
genuine thinking, but then you sort of think as well, it's like, well, if there was, then you would come and talk to me about that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Because that's how things would be dealt with.
Yeah.
It's like, or you talk with the project team and say, I'm not happy to do this, or I'm not happy
Mm.
to do that, and it's like that's the conversations where that they will have to be had, I'm sure, on a
Yeah.
project, because there's
Yeah.
certain things you go, I'm not really happy with that, or because that's your experience, that's what you're there to do.
Yeah.
Same with a slinger and same with a supervisor, and it's like, but so yeah. So my fears are all gone. I see your content,
Yeah.
I see your content, and what you're all about. It's all about positively reinforcing good standards across the industry, and it's yeah, it's great to have you on board, and we're lucky.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
mate. I
Yeah, yeah,
appreciate that. I
yeah,
appreciate that. Well, yeah, I do. I mean, it's about educating people. I'm trying to educate people about what I do and about the industry as a whole because um, I don't think there is enough information out there, and I don't want people to go in blind. You get
yeah,
because for me, I don't think the training is long enough. So I
no,
think the real training gets done on site, which I don't think is the right way personally,
yeah,
especially in the
yeah,
safety critical industry.
yeah.
So I try to give people insights and give them a bit of a head start.
Yeah, you hit a really good point there. Because I was saying, when I said about the tower crane convention I went to, and the guy from MPS saying about the welfare for the drivers and everything,
Yeah,
he turned around and said, how long do you think to the crowd it would take to become a crane operator in America? It's like 6 months or something it was, and so
mm,
we mentioned a couple of different countries where it was 6 months, or it was a long time. And then he said, how long do you think it takes in the UK? And it's a 2 weeks. And
mm,
it's like,
mental, innit?
and it's like, wow, within
Yeah,
2 weeks. And it was part of the reason why I started to go into it, because that 2 weeks
yeah,
I had to retrain, I could do it. But
yeah,
then you do learn on the job, and luckily enough, you get people that are crane controllers for companies that place people, that
yeah,
place them in a manner that will be befitting to their experience, and
mm,
they wouldn't put them on your crane straight out of the factory, you know what I mean?
mm,
They'd be like, right, okay, so here's a small little flat top on on a small building job, and then or shadow someone. I mean,
yeah,
with the apprenticeship, that's the best start you had, because
yes,
when I did my course of 2 weeks, there was one guy on the course just couldn't get it at all, and
right,
he hogged all the time in the crane. So I probably
yeah,
only had sat in the seat. Probably only had probably a couple of hours, like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. In reality, of actual time operating, like
yeah,
say 2.5 hours, and I was then, there's your ticket, off you go,
yeah, yeah,
off you go and drive cranes. So I'm with you. I'm definitely with you on that, and it's to get that changed, it would be very difficult. But then, like I said, companies like Select
mm,
and I think Wolf Crown and others have, and Falcon have a training establishment, and I should mention other tower crane companies like Radius and
yeah,
Bennett, and I'm sure they all have a bit of a mentoring process.
mm,
So it's kind of, well, if the training is lacking for that 2 weeks, some providers are facilitating additional stuff to make sure
oh
that
yeah,
people are safe. But yes, it should be longer, because it
definitely,
does seem mad, doesn't it? It's like,
100%.
it's yeah, it's like, you wouldn't get your driving license in a car with 2.5 hours
No,
driving experience like I had. But no, yeah, so
yeah.
yeah, it's
Yes, yes. Um, you brought up the buddy system earlier. Let's talk
yeah,
about that. So we were lucky enough to. So for people who don't know, the buddy system is an Australian system which is a fail-safe for when communication breaks down between the ground personnel and the crane operators for whatever reason, whether it's dead battery or injury to the slingers or loss of signal, whatever. So if that happens, they can pull a lanyard and it sends a signal to the crane operator to stop whatever they're doing. Nobody gets hurt. So we were lucky enough to be one of the first sites in the UK to trial the UK prototype of this. I think it's going to be big in the industry. I approach you to do it, and thank you. And I'm sure that you want to take it on board and appreciate what we've done.
Yeah, 100%. It's well, I met the guys Jade and Gary. They come in and presented on it, and with Mick and the senior project team, and they were straight away. They were like, "Yeah, let's bring it in. Let's do it." And I was talking about Sam earlier on with his arm and his radio fell, and the chain got wrapped around his arm. All you have to do is just pull. This is little lanyard that just separates. Just pull, and anyone watching this, please go and watch Jimmy's video on this, the trial he did, and it's so well put together, and how the team did it, and how you tested the distance, you timed how quickly it come through and notified you, and they owe you some beers for that, big time, Jimmy, because you've did the best thing, but also you were critical in it and testing it. And you were saying it wasn't. Oh, this is just all amazing. You were like you tested it. You properly tested it. And you said a couple of things I remember correctly. By the end, you were like they could improve maybe this or that. And it was like that was it shows it was it was a completely independent, proper trial and proper feedback. And I really enjoyed watching it. It was like and like I say when you with going through the whole thing with the whole team, it was just great to see, and that must have took you some time to put together. But the actual system itself is so simple, and when you look at something, you're like, well, it makes perfect sense. It's like, why are we not done this before? And people say, yes, you've got radios. Sometimes you can see people. Radios lose comms, and you on the video show that there was two receivers, two aerials up your crane already, and we were still having black spots and difficult non-comms areas, or you were losing signal a little bit, and then you select and through their comms provider come and put a massive aerial on, and it was like so when as soon as it was identified, the site team just contacted me, and then we tried to rectify that and select obviously facilitated that, and you showing that thing, but yet you still can have issues and slight issues around comms, and especially even on your own channel, your own frequency, with license, you get you get interference, you get I think if you've been in the industry for any period of time, lifting, whether you're an operator or a banksman, you will have lost where you are talking and the battery's gone on your radio, or you don't even know it's stopped and the crane's still carried on going, or you've carried on going and you're not realised. And I think with around RAMs and methods of work and safe systems getting better, and communication of it used to be like, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, or 5 seconds. How long before? It's like, no, it's constant communication. And again, when we talk about slingers, communication with operators and things, if you just stand on the radio and go down, 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 that is the most infuriating thing ever. And it's like, that's where it's like, again, what we do with mentoring stuff, where you can constant communication, but we both know it's like, yeah, Jimmy, keep on coming. You're all good. Yep, you can come in. You're about 40 meters up. You're still clear of the scaffolding, and you're talking. You're not driving it mad. You're just painting a picture. And it's like, yes, there's constant communication. I mean, people might think, you're heading constantly all day, but as long as it's done in the correct way, and it's not like, say, when someone like a site manager with a fucking slinger's ticket, excuse my language, slinger's ticket, picks a radio up and goes, we're doing blinding, everyone's going to go home, and he takes the radio and says, I've got a slinger's ticket, down, 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 and he's like, mate, you just give him the radio back or get off the radio. And that's the thing, and but then, like I say, with you losing the comms is a big one, and just a pull of that, and it stops. We had a guy over at Fenchurch Street years ago, and John Massey's name was big John's a big guy, and he's experienced. He was on the back of a wagon, and he sent a load up, a load of rebar, and as he was banking, so the tagline was over the side of the vehicle, but as it was going, it got wrapped around his leg, as you've probably seen before. And luckily he grabbed the tagline, but I took him up above 20 odd meters in the air.
Yeah.
And he couldn't grab his radio. As he come up above like it was only like sort of mezzanine level. So as he come up, the driver luckily saw him and safely lowered him to the ground.
Yeah.
But that could have been if it was blind and the building was up, he could have been 50 meters before the operator would.
I know.
Because by the time you've gone up you go or away you go, which he would have done at that point, you're just going. You're just going. You know, it's that's another thing we take slingers through as well, is you watch the crane for the whole load path. You know, it's like, you know, it's not just, oh yeah, off you go, and then it's like, you know, next thing a tagline gets wrapped around a bit of scaffolding, and you know, it's like that's so we again, with doing the visiting and doing the assessment and the mentoring, it's that kind of stuff that you're drilling into the guys, and you see it, you're picking up on it because you're seeing it, and you're telling them, well, where are you going? Look, where, that's not even clear of your building. It's not even clear of your obstructions or your proximity. So so it all goes back to that. So it's all good. It's good.
Yeah, no, so it was great fun. It was great fun, and the lads enjoyed it as well. They thoroughly enjoyed it, and even like a couple of them was kind of sad to see it go when we had to give it back. They kind of got used to it
because they were RSS were coming down to drop it off and have a meeting, and I haven't followed up on that, Jimmy. As far as did they have that meeting? So so you know, give me a message over the next probably Monday or something, because tomorrow's flat out. Give me a message on Monday, and I can pick up on that and see if RSS did actually come in, and if we've gone, you know, because the site team will. They just need we just need a reminder to because it was a prototype we were using. So we need to get the full hired in system on site as well, which we will do. And again, continue that trial, and look to roll it out as well. So as it should be.
Happy days. Nice. Right, we've only got a couple of questions left now. A little bit of advice for people. So firstly, one thing every AP should stop doing tomorrow.
Oh God, stop doing tomorrow. Not being aware of their capability and knowledge level, because you can be pushed or pressured, and sometimes you feel silly if you say, I don't know how to do that, or I don't know the answer to that. It's just knowing to say, I don't know, or I'm not sure. And I think that's where, because everyone is, you know, no one wants to be made to look stupid or not feel that you're competent at what you're doing, but it's also having the confidence to go, I don't know that, I will find out. And, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with stopping something and stopping yourself and going, let me go back to the standard. Not everyone's got photographic memory, and not everyone's, you know, whole retains information that they can just recount. Nothing wrong with going back, referring to standards, guidance, things that are there, and coming back to someone. You know, I haven't got the answer for that right now, but I will get back to you. That kind of thing, you know, just because don't. And if you feel that something's above your capability, don't wing it. You know, don't wing it. You need to voice that sort of thing, because when you do, that's when things can go wrong.
It takes some guts to do that, but I think people respect that. So even for me, like, I get some slingers work with us, and you can just tell some. I don't know if they got dodgy tickets or whatever, but it's normally, I've been doing it 5 years, and like straight away, you know, they've been doing it about 5 weeks. But I would rather they say, Jim, and I've had it before, I'd rather they say, Jim, I'm pretty green. Like, can you help me out? I say, no problem, mate. We'll look after you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I respect that.
100% in the team. You don't want to think like, oh, you know, I'm not as good as someone, or they want to admit that. But it's so we've got a new guy, AP just joined our team. Really competent guy. I can do CAD drawing, this, that, and the other. And I said, when you join, I'm like your learning curve is going to be huge, and it's going to be what we do is different. And we do it. I say we do it to a very high level. I'm very proud of that. And you know, so I recently come in yesterday morning. A great guy, and I said, you know, how are you getting on? He's like, he's like, yeah, okay, he said, Phil, I'm being a bit slow. I'm like, he's right, of course you're going to be a bit slow, or he's doing work already and he's doing stuff, but it was the learning curve and the difference from going from there to there. So that was,
Yeah.
he sits in the room and he just asks questions all day.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
It's like the team around. He's like, what about this? And he chips in, into
Yeah.
conversations as well. But it's that asking the questions and setting an environment where that's fine. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not
Oh,
that sort of alpha male egotistical kind of environment again.
yeah.
It's not good. It's not
Always
good.
be curious. That's what I say to kids
Yeah,
anyway.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
I'd go with that 1,000,000%.
What is the best advice you've been given in lifting?
Oh God, this is good.
Might
Oh,
be going way back now.
yeah. Let me think. Let me think. Best advice I've got was Steve. Steve, get out of that skip. And it was a moment where I look back. I think of this moment quite a lot, and it was a traffic marshal, and I was just young. I was young. I was the Slinger, the supervisor, and I had never really do use boat skips and rollover skips too much.
Mm.
And I'd gone onto a job again. This is where about like being
Oh,
being being confident. You okay? You still there? Yeah. So I'd gone into this job. Can you hear me?
yeah, yeah.
Okay? Yeah.
Just lost you there for a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but so I went into
yeah,
this
yeah.
job, and I never really used boat skips and stuff before. So we're doing like it was a refit and refurb of a building. So I've gone around to this big 40-yard skip, and I put the boat skip down, and the bail arm come down, and I was like engaged. And I was just like stood at the back of the skip, and like, yeah, pinch her up, and the traffic marshal was there, and I just started pinching up, and he just said, mate, get out of the skip. And I was like, okay. And I got out the skip. And as soon as you pitch the skip up enough, because the rubble discharges, the skips
Mm.
went like that. And I could have been stood there, Jimmy.
Wow.
And it was like, so the best bit of advice was Steve, get out of the skip. And it's kind of that I think back about it quite a lot.
Yeah,
And it's like that I didn't know. And that's again what goes back, with trying to put these systems and this support stuff in place because if sometimes you might think, oh, that's obvious, but you don't. If you don't know,
yeah,
it's easy to not and the lift plans weren't like they are now. Then they weren't all three. The lift plan just said attach the chain and pick up the load kind of thing. It was
yeah.
not. There was nowhere near what the level of detail and stuff are in them today. So yeah, that was just something I think about a lot. There's probably been other great advice
Yeah,
as well as that along the way. Um,
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
it's that
Well,
was
that's
something. Yeah, it was.
well, that's
Yeah,
yeah, a very important piece of advice
yeah,
for me. I think probably a couple. So for me, it's slow is fast.
yeah,
The slower you operate, the easier it is to control, so it's quicker, and you're not paid per lift. So
yeah,
they're my two.
yeah, yeah. They were good ones to stick to as well.
Yeah,
Very,
yeah.
very much so.
So we're going to finish. So I'm ask guests. I think you've asked me a question, but I normally ask at the end for somebody to ask me a question. But you have asked me one earlier. Was that your question, or have you got another one?
No, it's funny because before we got talking about about things and about music. I'm very trains and music, very much my passions, and
Yeah.
so as we were talking about that, it was kind of like the question I wanted to ask is can you give me a song that means something to you and the moment that it makes you think of? Because I love music, and like when sometimes when you hear a song, it brings me back to whether you're sat on a beach or it makes me think of my mum or something, and there's I think music and things linked to things, and I just interesting because we were talking about music before, just before we started the
Yeah.
podcast. So it was something that when you said, "Oh, yeah, ask me a question at the end," I was a bit stumped, but I thought no, because that music's important to me, and I think also it can trigger great memories
Yeah.
or not memories, but yeah. So that's my question.
Okay. Well, I can. There are probably a lot of Bob Marley ones come to
Mm,
mind because of I used to love listening to Bob Marley when I was young, but
yeah,
one instantly come to my head, and it's not really like a funky song or anything. It is a
yeah,
song, but and it's quite deep, this actually. So
yeah,
amazing. So the hymn, Amazing Grace,
yeah,
right? Amazing Grace, because I mean, I'm 40, what am I now? 46. But when I was like 18, 19, I had a bit of I mean, you had problems back yourself.
yeah,
I had a
yeah,
mental breakdown. So I was broken, right? So I kind of come out of that, and then I met my wife, and then she was my amazing grace. So that's what, and I think we had that at the wedding as well. When we got married. So she was my amazing grace. She kind of brought me out of the darkness into the light.
Yeah.
So that's what I think of. It's not like
Yeah.
a dancing song, but
No,
there you go.
no,
That's the answer.
that's the kind of answer I wanted though, Jimmy, because I think that's what music does as well, where
Yeah,
it's like, it goes with the question where I wanted to ask is, well, what's the song and what's it, remind you of, relate you to, and
yeah,
I'm with you because a song I thought of straight away then was David Gray, and when I went away traveling, remember I sat on, I couldn't I couldn't control my anger, I was just
yeah,
broken, and I sat on the edge of this pool and that David Gray song come on, Sail Away with Me, Honey. And I sat there and I thought, look, I thought where there are people with the army, I'm not going back. They can't. I just know I need to move on. It was like it's
yeah.
those music powerful and like
Yes.
say so two very linking sort of songs and stories there. So I'm glad I asked
Yeah.
that question. And it's
Thank
like
you, mate. That was a good. That was a really
yeah.
good question, actually.
Yeah,
Nice one.
so a really good, like I say, good thing to finish on as well. It's like
Yes.
your amazing grace, so a very positive thing, and that's how your life sort of changed and got back on
Yeah.
track. So,
Yes. Definitely.
so
Definitely.
well,
Definitely.
perfect way to finish a perfect podcast.
It's been great as well. It's
Yeah.
gone on quite. I didn't. Well, actually, I did expect it to go this long because I know how much you jabber on for.
Yeah, exactly. It's passion. It's passion. I'm passionate
Yeah.
about what we do, but yeah, sorry if it's gone on a bit long.
No,
It's
no, it's
hard
fine.
to
I
put
mean,
things
yeah,
in.
yeah, the passion really comes through. You
Yeah,
can really tell. So that's why I've just
yeah.
let you crack on, you know.
Yeah. If anyone's still listening, then it's like, thank you for staying on so long, but it's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you very, very much for having me, Jimmy. I appreciate it.
No, it's been my pleasure, honestly. And where can people reach you if they want to connect with you on
Yeah,
LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, yeah,
Yeah,
LinkedIn. So through the Keltbray website as well, and like I
yeah,
say, any conversations around any of the things we discuss, I'm quite happy to come and show people around the competency stuff we do, and see if they can sort of implement their own system
yeah,
around something similar. And I like to share that because it's like I want everyone to do it.
yeah,
It's not just like a commercialism thing. It's a genuine. It's a genuine,
yeah. Well,
I do it for the right reasons, sort of thing. It's we all do it. We all get really good men, and we all get a safe industry. And like I
mm,
said at the start, everyone goes home safe at the end of the day, which is the
yes.
number one.
Well, I hope companies have listened because I think they can learn a lot from the system you've created, and I hope they implement it as well or inspire them to implement it. I really do.
Thank you,
Yeah.
appreciate it as well. So, yeah, listen, I will let you
Yes.
go.
Your star.
Let you go, and listen, we'll catch up during
Thank you.
message me early next week about the Buddie System. Make sure
We'll
we
do.
follow up on that. And thanks for your time, Jimmy. And I'll
Top man,
catch up with you
Steve.
soon. All
Cheers,
the best,
mate.
buddy. Take
Cheers,
care,
mate.
mate. Bye, buddy. Bye.
Bye.